Stocks back downside here this morning, led by tech once again. Semiconductors specifically under pressure, with Nvidia leading the way. That's the way the Nasdaq is looking right now after a nice gap, and then we held the gap yesterday to the T. If you go back to the pre-market level there, the pullback in line with that, and then it was straight to the upside right through to the close yesterday. Lots to get into here this morning. AMD with a big analyst day coming up today. Whether or not we'll see anything significant or hear any announcements from them remains to be seen. We'll bring that to you as it happens. Interesting storyline Sharif and I were just discussing on Nvidia here. SoftBank, exiting their position entirely when this rumblings of a bubble is still in the background, coming off what happened last week with not only Nvidia but the entire sector, and the entire AI narrative took a little bit of a negative rub, I guess, on the back of what happened with Microsoft and OpenAI. But here's Nvidia this morning, the worst off of all of these as SoftBank gets out. It's something that I think we're going to have to really dig into and understand better.
Yeah, this was a surprise to me, Brendo. I mean, right in the middle of everything, when you're talking about Jensen really scaling into Blackwell, and some of the huge orders that we've been hearing come from that company getting out at a critical time. So we'll have to see exactly what the reasoning is as the days and the weeks unfold. Guys, lots to talk about this morning. A lot of earnings plays. Chief among them, CoreWeave, guys, down 8.5%, below $100. It was a bit of a miss there, Brendo. We've also got Paramount Skydance back in focus as that deal continues to materialize. Intel in focus as well, with a lot of shakeup in management. And then you have Nebius, Rocket Lab, Rigetti, all reporting earnings, Brendo.
I was a little bit surprised that the Intel move not bigger than it is at this point anyways this morning. Still lots of time to go, obviously, but typically when something's in the spot like that, like the AAR currently, because of the government tie-up, and you see a bunch of execs hit the road, I'm wondering how much this will affect it, given the government tie-up, though, and given that backstop now, maybe not as much as it once would. Here's Google, also downside this morning, back below 290 and then some. Really nice day yesterday for Alphabet, went out on the highs, giving some of that back. $6 billion going into a German power plant for Google. Storyline for them today, but overall the market a little bit negative, bringing Google back to earth a little bit. If you're keeping score as far as the government shutdown goes, still in place. The earliest they're saying now we could get a vote from the House is 4 p.m. tomorrow. They could start voting, quote unquote, start voting on this package. So when that actually gets wrapped up, and I mean, I'm sure they'll get it done. Yeah. It's just a matter of getting everyone back to Washington and then start the voting. But they're saying not until the close tomorrow. Well,
the good thing is in the House, Brendo, they don't have that super majority, 60 votes like they do in the Senate. So it should be a simple majority, and then it finds its way onto the president's desk, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Hopefully by the end of the week, we can start getting some much needed data once again. Sean with a much deserved morning off. Obi's in. Good morning, guys.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Sean at a Remembrance Day assembly where his kids are performing. I couldn't go to mine. My wife is going to be going 2 hours. My daughter's singing. She's in the choir, but then she's also doing there's it's not a solo, but there's 3 kids that are all singing together. But just for everyone out there, obviously today, market's open, bonds are closed. The bond market's closed today because of the holiday. It's different in Canada and the U.S. Here in Canada, we celebrate Remembrance Day. That's where we're essentially reflecting and celebrating fallen heroes in World War II. And in the U.S., of course, it's Veterans Day, which is a little bit different because you're celebrating the veterans that have served. So it's a little bit different, but it's the same theme today, and we'll make sure that that's respected. And hey, we're already starting on the vacuuming. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, the poll from last night in terms of the biggest mover was won overwhelmingly by BBAI. CoreWeave ends up, Rocket Lab only 8%, CoreWeave was I think 10% down at the most, BBAI 19%, and Rigetti literally doing nothing. The Rigetti's down a little bit, but that's actually after bouncing. So Rigetti barely moves at all here, but lots of earnings movers for sure. The chips are going to be in play. When we came in, we were sort of chatting about some of the memory names. And how it feels like we might be getting a little bit toppish, but we felt that before. I think you just got to be careful with it. I was sort of looking at the price action of Micron, but this one I'm eyeing for potential pullback setup. And Randy is coming with the plums. Yeah, I grabbed the banana for tomorrow. There's no way I'm eating the banana today because it's like not even kind of ripe.
Thank you, Randy.
Oh, the snow. Did you partake in any snow-related activities over the weekend?
There was, I mean, other than like walking in a winter wonderland, not enough snow to really partake. But like, I bet some places you could have gone like tobogganing or like.
Well, I don't know about tobogganing. Because Sean said the same thing, that there wasn't enough snow.
There wasn't enough snow.
My daughter didn't care. Straight up.
Yeah, that looks like enough
snow. This is enough snow. Snow angels, man.
Definitely got enough snow. That's enough.
She was like doing them in our backyard. We went to the school. She was pulling them off. I didn't film for very long. But like the first snowfall of the year, you've got to represent. Except on the roads where people. It's the weirdest thing that you live in Canada and you're used to like winter and the snow. And then all of a sudden, the very first snowfall, no matter when or how much it is,
it's beautiful.
It's like 90% of the people just forget what to do. Oh. It's like you realize when it's all melted and you can see the pavement and it's like clear, you could kind of drive normally. People still doing like 20. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Anyways, you know how it is, man.
I see what you mean. Like people on the roads. Yeah. That's what it is. People can get a little bit cautious there. Yeah, for sure.
Before you go back to the desk, there's one thing. Yes, I know Sharif is excited about this one. XPeng. I don't know if people saw this one yesterday, but XPeng had a monster move. A lot of things had monster moves. Like this thing went over 10% yesterday, and they have their robot was like fooling people. I don't know what they call theirs. And obviously Optimus is Tesla's, but I don't remember the name of the XPeng. No, the XPeng robot.
Okay, no, I haven't seen that one, but I've seen the new one with like the Neo or something. I don't know what that one's called, the Neo one. I don't know if we're talking about the same one, but everyone's coming out with a robot now.
That's the future, man.
I mean, here's the thing. This is why like Tesla's kind of like a world leader. It's like, you know, they are trailblazers for a lot of things.
They are.
And I think it's a great thing. It's a great thing. But we can get talking about XPEV in a little bit. We'll throw it back to the boys at the desk.
Be fair.
Yeah, true. All right, lots to get to this morning. Mitch Hoch going to join us here in a couple of minutes to talk about a few ideas he has for today. This AMD event coming up today going to be interesting. Keep my eye on Google there, but this AMD event going to be interesting. Every opportunity that these CEOs get to go on stage and reveal some sort of new announcement or new product line or new something or other, they take.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's fairly certain that we'll get something exciting from Lisa Su today specifically, but a good day yesterday for AMD as well.
It is, and they don't do it every year, Brendo. No. She said specifically, we only do it when there's a major event, and here it is. The last one they did was back in 2022, and today they plan on showcasing the next-gen MI processor. Specifically, it's going to be the MI400 launching next year in 26. It's obviously designed for scientific computing and Gen AI, but they're also building a new GPU rack architecture. Brendo, they want to rival NVIDIA's GB200. Lisa Su previously hinted at expanding AMD's AI data center chip revenue. She's talking about $500 billion by 2028. It's only a couple of years away now, Brendo. That would have to increase markedly from what they're bringing in.
It's a lot of math.
Yeah.
It's a lot of math. 1 p.m. Eastern, we'll get that event at least going. So keep that in mind coming up this afternoon, guys, for AMD.
Yeah, it's going to be a weird one because I usually trade AMD. It's been better as a trading vehicle, I'm pretty sure, for a lot of traders and sometimes in NVIDIA lately, but today is a day that because of the event, I might stay away and prefer to trade a Micron and an NVIDIA on a session like this. Now, obviously, they all look the same. Like you have a couple of things that are weighing on the chip space today. One will be CoreWeave guidance, and then which some of it's just kind of isolated to them. And then the second thing is with SoftBank selling their stake in NVIDIA, that has some things to the downside. And of course, just the simple fact that we've been yo-yoing the last little bit. Obviously, I could look at this and say the same thing I might say about a Micron, which is you made a top and trended down, and then afternoon resistance and that sort of thing for AMD. But I'm going to let this, I'd rather trade this one after the event starts up is the way I want to approach it. I just feel like most of the time when we have these, it can be a little bit messy until you get some action after the fact. So, count me on Nvidia and Micron today. And also circling back to some other things, because there's like two names yesterday. Like yesterday could have been a tricky morning for a lot of people, right? Like it was, sort of we had up, down, and futures went to lows, came back to the highs and all that stuff. But SMCI was basically trend down all morning long and has been outside of a gap up yesterday. It has been trend down since earnings. So leaning back into something like that and just shorting the pop into a 41 is something that I would come back to as well. So yeah, AMD is going to be a pass until after the event for me. I just think with its volatility, it could chop you up early.
I think that's a great point, Neil. Intraday catalyst, we've seen the kind of effects that they've had, and pretty crazy wild effects as well. So anything that could be said during that event could give you a nice strong shake and bake. A great example, sure it's not AMD, is Apple yesterday. Apple intraday, right here, that wick is absolutely real. I think they were like, okay, something about a delay in phone sales or whatever, and this was the intraday move all the way from 270 all the way down to 267 halves, and that happened in a very short time frame. So it's just like, okay, you want to manage headline risk to a certain extent, especially if you're trading this name. But bigger picture, this thing looks pretty decent here. Higher highs and higher lows. It's finally gone back up towards this 250, and it's starting to catch a little bit of a ranging consolidation, trending consolidation, a little bit of a chop after this strong volume bid up here as well. So we're sustaining higher lows. So I like that. Hopefully with this event coming in today, maybe we see some good interaction with that 250, and maybe we see 267s on the horizon. Either way, 267s is what I'm watching on the upside, and to the downside right here, just for the past couple of weeks, that double bottom at 225s, just shy of 225. So it was just rounded out. 267s, 225s, that's what I'm watching on AMD today. But something interesting as well is SOXL when it comes to some of these semiconductors that I was watching. Strong bid up right there. You can see that we basically went red to green on Friday and then gap up right here, a nice consolidation. So this range on SOXL is definitely going to be a little bit directional for me. So I'll be watching that as well when it comes to semiconductors today.
We're just reading a little bit more on this Nvidia and SoftBank story this morning. Again, if you missed it or just joining, SoftBank exiting their entire position. And it looks like it happened in October. Yeah. So they sold everything in October. And I mean, I'm just being the optimist here, but if you go out to a daily chart, the largest sell volume candle down here in October also corresponded with all-time highs. So that's a Yoshi-san top ticking Nvidia plus. I'm speculating, obviously, but that would be pretty impressive.
That'd be fantastic, Breno. That'd be the trade of a lifetime there for Masayoshi-san and company. But they did sell, guys, 32.1 million shares, as Breno mentioned, in October. They also divested part of their T-Mobile holdings for about $9.17 billion. Look, they called it an asset monetization strategy, aimed at maintaining financial strength. Obviously, that sends a bit of a different signal to the market when you're getting out and this thing just hit 5 trillion, Brendo, so I don't know.
The one, if you go back, the one prior to that, the largest candle prior to this one was also at the time all-time highs. So maybe a couple of sells in October, guys, but not bad if that was true.
And some research analysts are coming out as well, Breno. They're trying to make a prediction as to why they sold. So SoftBank needs about $30.5 billion in capital to basically deploy for some of their OpenAI investments. So making the assumption or the inference here that maybe they were selling to meet other obligations, but that wasn't confirmed by the company.
A good learning lesson, I think, for anyone who deals with market on an intraday level. There's those days where you happen to be looking at a stock and for whatever reason it gets to a level and it just won't go through that level. And then you find out a month or 2 months down the road, someone like SoftBank was sitting on the offer, guys.
The Bezos 200, I know we remember that one. Sometimes, but you know what? You have to consider that sometimes for accumulation as well, because it plays both ways. We've seen the same thing, maybe the Intel low at like 19 bucks. It's like, oh, even when there's bad news, this is no longer breaking that level. It just gets underneath 20 bucks and someone seems to be there. Well, this thing, Nvidia, the sharp turns when it was over 08 at that high, like you could pretty clearly see, like it got to that price, there was like dumping pretty much every time it got up there. And then there was even like this accumulation, like it just couldn't catch the bid off of the 02. And well, today, what I find interesting is it wasn't an accumulation level that I'm looking at on NVIDIA. It's this almost triple support at 196.5, like 1, 2, 3 times at lunch going into 2 o'clock. And then now that's like the pre-market high. So I kind of like the term I like is like an over-under. If that was a support level just recently on a ramp job, then for the morning trade, if it can't break out that level, I think it's a fade underneath. I might prefer Micron if that sets up cleanly, but you know that level where the buying was all afternoon, or most of the afternoon that we were able to observe it on NVIDIA, I want to see that support turn into resistance and confirm resistance underneath that pre-market high. So yeah, NVIDIA, look, it's a good stock, and this is the second time SoftBank has covered everything on. It's what they do. They covered all before, got back in, and sold at the highs. So good on them again.
Yeah, I think Brendo points out an interesting candle there. So I think that right there stood out to me as well, where it's like, okay, aggressive, strong sell day. And that kind of confirms to be an interesting area when here this day we break out of this aggressive sell day and we get that strong bid, but a bit of a failure to follow through that 212s, right? I'm like, okay, cool. Watching it. Is that a double top? I don't know. But we're taking a little bit of a pullback. Interestingly enough, even on I think it was Sunday overnight session, as well as Monday blue ocean. Like we couldn't really get over 200, even in the overnight session, even last night, we can't really get past 201. Sellers step in off of 201. There was some aggressive size there as well, relative to the overnight trading session as well. So 200 couldn't break pretty much all week. We tried yesterday, and once again, it seems like a little bit of a held offer potentially, maybe lower highs as well. So yeah, I'm going to be watching that for sure. And I pointed out SOXL earlier this morning as well. So NVIDIA was in a pretty tight range. So this base right here at, was it 193s and some change? Let's get specific. That is exactly at 193.70. So I'm definitely going to be watching prior day low here, because if we give up yesterday's base, we definitely have a little bit of room to go down into the 190. So I think that's the look there on NVIDIA. A little bit of a short-term downtrend as well.
And before we get to Mitch, I know we have Mitch on right now, just to show you what happened at 200 in Blue Ocean. This is the overnight market. I'd say that's pretty distinct when it lost the $200 level. Support into clean resistance and then held underneath and trending down all night long. And that's why it's valuable to have this quote. I mean, shout out to Real Trading to allow us to be able to see that and to trade it. A lot of traders are actively trading on Blue Ocean. Let's go hear from our good friend from Tradable.
All right, let's bring him in. Mitch Hoch here on a Tuesday morning with a whole bunch of ideas as per usual. Mitch, let's get right to it. Mitch wants to short Palantir today. Why?
Because it's just that type of market that we're in now, guys. It's no more easy sledding. And the truth is, it's all about the maximum pain, the maximum participants that the market can hurt here. It's trying to do both sides. I don't know if you guys have noticed, and I've seen it all on Twitter. Everyone's saying, well, I get long, and then I get stopped out. And then I get short, and I get stopped out. Well, the truth is the market's just trying to take up all this volume now and chop you up. So you got the short squeeze yesterday on Palantir, and then now you got longs thinking they have it, and I think it's just going to get a tough day again. And it doesn't mean that it's going to go all the way right back to the low today, but it's just going to be tough to continue this type of market. When you get this little pushback, watch for a quick whoosh right back down.
So given that high, I guess 196, not only yesterday, but going back to the beginning of last week on the gap to the downside, anything above that, from a technical standpoint, anything above that, how are you approaching that?
Yeah, the way that I'm looking at it now, this is just a kind of a bounce back into that gap zone, right? And you're starting to use that resistance right around the 195 as that resistance area. If it can get back into that gap, then yes, maybe you clear this gap and keep going through the high. But traders are going to be using that as an area that they can take bets on this right back to the downside. And if you really look at the kind of the MACD and kind of other indicators, they're really starting to show more of this weakness. So the real question today is, can we go back to yesterday's low? Because if we do that, that's 183.52. We take that out and watch really quickly, watch how the bearish tune comes right back into the market.
All right, let's go to Apple here. I mean, the chart kind of tells the story here. It's been a choppy mess for a better part of a month at this point, going back and forth. A couple of headlines not really great for them surrounding the Air already. What are your thoughts overall here for Apple?
So this is the idea, right? The idea is, where do we look for longs in this market, right? It's no longer looking into the no fundamental names. You're looking for high quality tech, right? And looking to see if those can hang on here, right? This has a nice little pattern. It can break above the 271. And of course, Apple viewed as more as your value tech. So maybe you see a little rotation more into value plays instead of growth plays here, especially the way that the market's going. This is the only kind of big boy that I think has a really nice setup here. Amazon also on a little bit of a more of a pullback, right? You're kind of in a flag pattern, but I don't think that one's done with the flag, so still could come back to the 240s. And Microsoft still struggling, Meta struggling, so the big boys are just not really partaking in a new rally, and that's what you're going to need. If you're going to get this, Q4 rally, it's going to be because of big tech. I think we're in this lull area right now where we're going to get a little bit of this pullback, more correction coming in, and then we got to look to see if we get some type of Black Friday rally, and then start to see the exuberance come back into the market.
Yeah, great point. I think the government shutdown, maybe resolved or getting resolved, and things getting back to normal might help in that case as well. Let's keep going here. A lot of names that we've talked about over the past couple of months have had that, maybe pullback or correction, as you were mentioning. I mean, you mentioned a few here. Lumen, one of those, LUMN. What are you liking about this?
Yeah, so this one had earnings, right? And the earnings didn't really kind of push the new ceiling. And I think you can clearly see on the weekly, especially, that this has a nice resistance at 11. It's just struggling to get above 11. This name, of course, provides kind of like fiber optic cables for data centers. And it's in a good space, but I think it's just gone a little bit too far here and now can start pulling back a little bit. And this one, of course, I'd be looking for more of that 50 EMA test back down. So let's see if we can get Lumen to start breaking down today through the $10.25, $10 spot, and then look to see that start to drive to the bottom line here. And this is a short that I think a lot of opportunities are out there. What you want to see is not trying to short a name that's already been down 30, 40, 50%, right? Those are the names that it can actually bounce, right? So you're looking for more names that are just hanging out there, maybe slightly undercut their support last week, got right back above it. Now you want to see if it's a dead cat bounce. Does it just whoosh right back down?
More headlines of late in the weight loss drug space. Hims, I mean, we're still hanging on by a thread here.
By a thread, man. It's starting to look ugly, right? Even you could see that chart and you're just like, man, I don't know if I would want that name now. And I think this has more to do with also the change that you're seeing in the administration. For a while, it was, Trump administration hates healthcare. Then it loves healthcare. Then it hates it. Now it hates the insurance companies, right? And then you're getting all these generic drugs to come online, and the competition for Hims is just going to get tougher. I think this was all more about kind of first mover advantage. They were really getting into this space. They pushed on advertising. They got up there. But now it could be in a little bit of a free fall back down, and this is the spot to do it. If the bears are really going to come in and claim Hims, it could be today, even through that 40. Next thing you know, you start to lose altitude, start making your way back to 30.
Yeah, I mean, sitting here this morning in the pre-market down around 38, I guess already. So maybe we gap through that support. Let's go to lithium. We had another move higher yesterday in some of the more talked about or more held, metals. Gold back to the upside in a pretty big way yesterday. The lithium names, though, you liking back higher? Or, I mean, these have kind of taken a back seat over the past week and a half or so.
This is where it gets a little tough, right? This is where you have to understand the difference between speculative names and high quality names. The high quality names have actually held on. You could look at SQM and ALB. Those are being able to hold on here because at the long run, they actually have fundamentals behind them. And they were on a 2 or 3 year long kind of downtrend and are now starting to uptrend. But of course, your speculative names, even an LAC, they got the government's backing, right? Well, that's already undercut that kind of gap. But this could be an area where you've had that type of pullback, right? And you're looking for names to go after. This would not be a name for me to go short. this would be a name for me to go looking for the bounce plays, right? So I think this is a very important thinking, right? If you're looking for bounce plays, you need to see that your stocks have already pulled back over 35%. You're talking 40 to 50%, because you want to see those kind of 50% retracements for those fib lovers out there, and then look for the strength to come back into the name. Another good important signal will be volume coming back. You see a lot of these names that had declining volume, almost non-existing volume on the downside. You want to see that volume start to really pop and show you that buyers are willing to step back in.
All right, still on the rare earths, one we've talked about many times. U times 4, also one of those ones hanging on.
U. All right, well, you got to look for these names, the minerals names, the UAMY, USAR. These are the ones that are down the 40, 50%. They did it fast, right? And then these are the ones that could go 100% back down or start to get this bounce in this area. So I've already kind of played these on Friday, and it got a little bit of a bounce yesterday. Got to watch out for a little bit of a pullback into those moves, right? So you could draw maybe a 50% retracement of the recent move and look for that kind of action to play in with these names. Of course, they're beaten down, but they're in the right space. The minerals trade is another 2 or 3 years type of trade, because if we're going to do these kind of big moves in nuclear, if we're going to do these big moves in AI, all these chips, right? And then humanoids, all of this are going to require what? They're going to require these minerals, they're going to require lithium batteries, and they require all these materials. So material trade isn't going away, guys. It could just take a little bit of a backseat for a little while, and then all of a sudden come right back into play.
Market feeling a little bit like we're in some sort of transition. You know, the reason for that, how it resolves, remains to be seen. We'll see where we get, but definitely a little bit different than the past month and a half or so. What's the latest over at Trade the Pool?
Yeah, of course, Trade the Pool. We have many different opportunities for you guys. Come and check it out, guys. We're going to be doing some bigger kind of podcasting, also opening up more trading psychology. And of course, we have our, what we call it, the Netflix of videos for trading, right? You guys can see that on our website. It's a lot of funded trader interviews where you guys get the recipe to success. So if you want the secret sauce, of course, you come out, Trade the Pool, and learn from the traders that have actually gotten paid, right? This is what I always talk about. It's not about, you know, the guy that you see on Twitter. Look for the guys that are actually getting the payouts and what's working for them. And last one, though, I did like the comments about NVIDIA. I think that's definitely a really good market tell today. If you see NVIDIA just test right back into the gap, well, that's going to be clear signs that we're still in this kind of choppy market. Now, if NVIDIA can just start clearing right back to 200, well, then you're looking good. But that's going to be like those indicators. AMD, right? Look for those stocks that were really strong or that are now running into more of that chop.
Who needs SoftBank?
Who needs SoftBank? Yeah, who needs all that money? Now, I mean, they'll go get more money. But the real question is the AI trade taking a little bit of a backseat? It's just a backseat. It's not a breaking down or anything. But definitely the euphoria in the market has been broken. That little bubble that we were on has been broken. Now it's about quality names.
Mitch Hoch over at Trade the Pool. Great to see you as always.
Take care, guys.
Thank you very much, Mitch. Oh, my puppy always falls off. But one thing that he said there, like, look for the stocks that are trying to bounce, that are down a huge percentage. Oscar is going to be SSR today after yesterday's earnings pump to the downside. It's not at support. It tried to hold 16 and obviously didn't. It's not quite at that 14 support level, but it's getting pretty close. So like 13.5 to 14, I'd be looking for a support bounce on Oscar. Because it's SSR today, it's going to be automatically on radar. But what's also on our radar, some upgrades, downgrades, and of course, some options with Joe.
All right, guys, good morning. I hope everyone's having a fantastic Tuesday. Let's get it started, guys, and take a look at some of the upgrades and downgrades. At the top of the list here, we have MAPL, yes, CART by BMO Capital Markets, getting that price target raised to $58. We're slightly positive on the day, about 0.5% there, guys. Now, as for Syntaz as well, too, getting the nod, guys, by Rothschild, Price target raised to $185. Now, Paramount Skydance as well, too, guys. $13 is going to be that price target, up 4% roughly on the session. Now, Zoom as well, too, by Rosenblatt, up about 1/3% on the day. Price target is going to be $115. Now, I mean, that's substantially from where we're currently trading at. $83 is that price. Now for the downgrades, CoreWeave reporting after the bell yesterday, guys, down substantially, just a little bit under 9%, 8.67% is what we are down by. JP Morgan's lowering that target to $110, but it's also going from an overweight to a neutral weight as well. To Lee Auto, guys, Piper Sandler, giving that one a downgrade as well, guys. Price target lowered to $19. And then Monday.com by Bank of America, getting that lower to $195. Now, Needham and Company also lowering that price target on Gemini, down roughly 8% on the session. Now, I'll take a look at some of the options activity. Lots of CoreWeave today, guys, and some BigBear AI. I'm sure Sean will like this here. So what we're looking at here is some call activity. BigBear AI at that $7, that's going to be expiring this week. Open interest still relatively light, but the volume at that $7 strike price, 12,200 contracts traded. That's not too far from the current price target. Now, as for CoreWeave, guys, that $100, that even number, we had 12,600 contracts still currently open, with only 1,000 contracts open and closed on the session. I'm going to be looking at this as potential resistance and as a call wall. Now, beyond meat as well, too, guys, the open interest relatively high with 29,100. Sorry, to take a step back, that CoreWeave expiration cycle is next week, not this week. Now on to Beyond Meat. Once again, open interest relatively high with 29,100 contracts still currently open, and they don't expire for a couple of weeks, with volume around 10,500 at that $2 strike price. And for such a low, obviously, price stock, some substantial volume, lots of activity going on in Beyond Meat. Now, as for the call of the day, you could be like, Joe, well, Apple it took a big slide yesterday. Well, let's take a look at these numbers as some potential resistance zones. So the high of the day yesterday was around 273, and that rejected pretty aggressively. So with Apple at that specific strike price expiring this week, we had 55,000 contracts open and closed there, with open interest still sitting around 15,900. The bid and the ask are relatively cheap. Don't get lured in by these numbers, because once again, time is not on your side in this one. So be careful on that expiring this week. Once again, the delta relatively light because it is an out of the money contract, with your gamma light as well too, guys. The at the money IV is extremely cool at 23.4%.
All right, guys, 68.57. That's where we closed out yesterday on the ES December contract. This 50-point area is a bit of, this might be a bit of a tricky area to clear, because we used it as support for several days before obviously we lost it and dropped below 6,700. Take a look at what we did on the 30th, again on the 31st, and then we really lost it on the 4th. So we're going to look to 68.50 or the overnight high 68.67 as that first level of resistance. If we clear that, we're looking at 6,900. If we sell off for whatever reason, Brendo, we're looking at 6,800 as support.
All right, as always, if you haven't done so yet, grab that. It's free, comes right to your inbox every single morning. Link is in the description. All you need is your email address, and then you get everything you need to know in one nice, neat package delivered right to you every morning. And then you come join us at 8:30. AMD, top of the list here this morning. Remember, 1 p.m. Eastern, we'll get the start of this Analyst Day, quote unquote Analyst Day. This was just one note from Bank of America saying, yeah, they could, I mean, rocket isn't a lot of detail, but I mean, other analysts coming out this morning with actual projections here ahead of what we could get from them today.
You're exactly right, Brendo, because they are expected to raise their long-term AI forecast. We don't know exactly what it is yet. Look, this is going to be held at 1 o'clock in New York, and it's the first time they've done it since 2022. Again, as I kind of prefaced at the top of the show, Lisa Su says that we don't do it every year, only when there's big product launches and it's warranted. So they plan on showcasing their next-gen MI400 series, which is, of course, used for scientific computing, generative AI, etc. They're also building a new GPU rack architecture. It's modeled after the GB200 of Nvidia's. And CEO Lisa Su previously hinted at expanding AMD's AI data center chip revenue by $500 billion by 2028. So raising their long-term AI forecast. We're going to be all ears, Brendo. Let's see where they're going to land.
Yeah, 1 p.m. Remember, we'll bring that to you live. Dara will be here with any kind of headlines, any movement that we see on AMD. Tesla here real quick, downside. There was just a note from Truist reiterating a hold at 406 for Tesla. A little bit of a downtick there, guys, on that.
As I said before, I'm going to stay away from AMD until the event. Just feel like the other chip names give you a little bit more clean. Don't have to worry about, the jitters before the event. It could end up being one of those classic sell the news kind of deals. It feels like you're making a bit of a head and shoulders here. So I think they're going to have to impress because there was a wall in front of that 250 yesterday. The market turned around. But one thing to note for AMD in particular is, and we're going to talk about NVIDIA next, but that's NVIDIA, that's the dip, and that's NVIDIA in the afternoon. And as you can obviously see here, well, AMD didn't participate in any of that. That's why, it's one of the reasons why I liked, I'm going to like SMCI for another shot at the short like yesterday, is because it just, when things didn't bounce when NVIDIA was going, it was a bit of a telltale. So I think it's a relative weak one, but I'm going to sit this one out, wait until the event, and maybe look for a sell the news event there. And as I just said, similarly, SMCI tried to go when NVIDIA went, didn't, ended up at the lows. I want to fade this one into that 41 level where it turned in the afternoon. So that's the chip name that'll be on my mind, at least until 1 o'clock when they better impress.
Yeah, I like that. I like that look there as well. 236 right here is a little significant to me. Earnings in the pre-market, that was the low there. Earnings day 2, that was the low there as well. And when we finally got past that bit of a local double bottom, we got some aggressive selling. And then gap up yesterday. So yeah, a little bit of a chop sideways if you look at it kind of bigger frame. But yeah, coming into here, maybe with a little bit of a gap fill is what I'm looking for. Again, AMD, I think Neil's right about that. You kind of want to watch out for that headline risk today. But if we do start to get that SOXL move that I was talking about a little bit earlier with some market tailwind, I think that 236 could stay interesting here on AMD today. Even going into the event, I want to see what price, if price, has interacted with any of these interesting levels for the past couple of days. Again, this is technically earnings day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the day today. So day 1s, day 2s are pretty nice. But sometimes the residual move a couple of days later could be interesting as well.
Okay. All right, let's talk about NVIDIA here. Another downtick just in the last 5 minutes here. We're coming back into session lows. Still above that low and support area, 193, 194 area from yesterday that held them multiple times pre-market and then going into the open here. But yeah, if you missed it or just joining, SoftBank out completely of NVIDIA.
Yeah, this is a really interesting development, Brendo. So let's talk about what's going on here because it's a big deal. SoftBank announced a sale of its entire NVIDIA stake. It's worth $5.83 billion as it reallocates capital towards new AI ventures, most notably OpenAI. So they sold 32.1 million shares in October. They also divested part of their T-Mobile holdings, about $9.17 billion. The CFO said the asset sale is part of a broader asset monetization strategy aimed at maintaining financial strength while increasing the fund's flexibility. But we know that analysts here feel that the sale does not signal a bearish view on NVIDIA, but rather a rebalancing move to support their massive AI expansion. New Street Research estimates SoftBank needs roughly $30.5 billion in capital this quarter only, including the $22.5 billion for OpenAI and $6.5 billion for Ampere. The investment spree marks more spending in one quarter, guys, than they spent in the last 2 years, hence why they need some liquidity. And Brendo, SoftBank remains deeply intertwined with NVIDIA's ecosystem. Many of its AI ventures depend on NVIDIA hardware, including that $500 billion Stargate
Yeah, we'll see how the actual stock reacts. Uh-oh, down detector indicating problems at YouTube.
Oh boy.
Hopefully you can still see us. The good news, guys, there's definitely levels to work with here today if you wanted to.
Okay, so no, I actually went to look this one up. This is the second time that SoftBank has gotten out of their entire NVIDIA position. Now, granted, obviously at some point they got back in and have now sold at the high.
Right.
However, and I hadn't looked at this chart, so I wanted to see it. It was January of 2019. So there is when SoftBank got out, or at least announced that they had gotten out the last time. It's entirely possible they were selling it. Who knows? They were selling. This is a monthly chart, by the way, so it's 350. Obviously, a lot has changed since then for NVIDIA. Wow, that kind of blew my... Yeah, that wasn't the impression in my head is that they probably had done much better when they sold the first time.
Right, yeah.
But either way, like they're about growth, so selling things at the top would make some logical sense to allocate the things that they think are going to rotate and have more upside. And I'm sure they will probably buy NVIDIA if it dips. But for NVIDIA, clean support on that ramp job, 196.5. In the afternoon. Bang, 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 1, 2, 3 times it supported it. You got the pre-market high in here as a resistance. So look, I'm very willing if we get above here on a 15-minute, I even said that in my note. If we close a 15-minute candle above for strength, then I can look for longs above that price. But we're underneath it, so support to resistance, I want to fade that one first. So I'm looking at that 196.5 as a fade zone. But as I just said, if I see that 15-minute holding above and closing above, I'd look for a long above that level. Just using the level as my guide. And it's a big one. You know, it's not just yesterday support. I mean, if you go all the way back to Thursday, you also had this fail, that price at the open, and then you had a key post-close level here on NVIDIA on the Wednesday as well. So 196.5 is my key.
Yeah, so I'm just looking up here as well. So we talked about NVIDIA, this level being somewhat of a key. If we can break down prior day's low, we can get that gap fill as well. But yeah, with that SoftBank selling, I just wanted to ask, I asked GPT, okay, is this a significant sell? So what I asked is how much of the total float in terms of percentage did SoftBank actually sell of NVIDIA on the most recent news? And I got 0.14% of NVIDIA's public float worth. So with the kind of relative volume that kind of does, I don't know if it has that significant of an impact other than sentiment, right? Price can also move very well on sentiment. People can be like, oh my God, SoftBank is selling, maybe we should as well. But the reality of the matter is that they've sold about 0.14% of NVIDIA's public float. So I don't know how much that's really going to affect it, but I got to watch out for sentiment, right? That's just the hard stat. But if the selling comes in today for a bit of continuation, we've been seeing that 200 kind of hold. I do like this area, this 190. So maybe some opportunities to take some inventory into and through that 190 area on NVIDIA today.
Nice pop after the close yesterday. A little bit of follow through here this morning for BigBear AI on a better than expected earnings report. Still some levels above that we have to deal with here, though, on a higher time frame for BBAI, but pretty good start. This
is a really good start, Brandon. They're up aggressively to start the morning over here. Better Q3 2025 results than the street was looking for. Let's talk about them. 33.14 million in revenue, beating the 31.82. A smaller loss per share than the street was expecting. The street was looking for a 7-penny loss. They posted 3, and gross margins continue to be supported by a strong Army program volume. The company ended up actually with 456.6 million in cash and 376 million in backlog. So they've got demand that they're still unable to meet. They also made strategic acquisitions. They announced a definitive agreement to acquire Ask Sage, which is a fast-growing generative AI platform. It's expected to close late this quarter, or sorry, yeah, Q4 this year or Q1 2026. And it's really going to help them in defense, national security, and regulated industries. And they're also continuing to deploy their biometric platform, Brando, called Veriscan. It's at O'Hare in partnership with the U.S. Customs Border Protection. So good luck.
Yeah, that's the key. In the same world as Palantir lives for BBAI, which might not be a positive for them, but a good start here, guys, for BigBear.
Yeah, 18%. I think that's more than a good start for BBAI. I think you got to give them the credit. It's only 7% short float, which I guess I find that a little bit surprising. I thought it was a little bit high. We talked about that yesterday. But the key thing, a couple of key things. One, you trended right into the 200 period, which will make me want to respect the 50 today at 660 change. And you've broken this like slight downward trend going into it. So, this candle, regardless of what happens, because sometimes earnings day, look, it can be tricky. We all know how that goes. But you've easily broken trend here with any close above, call it like 6 to 620. When I wrote on my iPad this morning, it was like 620 was actually the level I came up with, like to pull back into that 50 period, and didn't really like anything for support if we don't break out on BBAI. So I think unless we break the top, like if this isn't, I say we, I'm talking about the stock, unless it's breaking out this 7 to 710 area at the open, I feel like there's a huge gap that this could fill before going. So I want to be really patient with this. At the open, I actually think there's a better chance that I have this open. Like open's a bit of a tighter range, and I might end up just trading this one a little bit tighter off the open because it's right at a key level at 780. So it might determine, grip and rip early and break out earlier than a BBAI would. Whereas I think I might have to sit out like the first 15-minute candle on BBAI before considering that trend.
All right, guys. So Trader TV Academy, we have big news. Trader TV Academy is launching very, very soon. It's a learning platform based on the exact training materials that we used when we first started trading, and it's built for traders all around the world, no matter what your experience level might be. Stay tuned for more information. Make sure you are subscribed and following us on socials so that you don't miss it when we launch. That should be interesting. BigBear AI. I like the move. It's definitely on my watch today. $5 held pretty well over the past week or so coming into earnings. We're getting that gap up, stair step above even in some of prior week's action. Last Monday, we did get a bit of a sell-off from that $7 level. We're retesting that as well in a flat week prior week as well, roughly. So this stair step I like. I think it's pretty interesting. I think that if we can step up a little bit higher as well, it could definitely give us some opportunity through some of those pre-market key levels like those highs and lows. But bigger picture, got to keep on watch on the hourly here. This is in a bit of a downtrend, so it does have a lot of hurdles to get over in terms of supply zones if and when we do start getting past some of these marks like 750s, $8. I'm definitely gonna be watching some of the whole dollar and half dollar levels here as well. 939 is the most recent local high here on BigBear AI.
All right, not good for CoreWeave, although we are trying to take back some levels to the upside here this morning. 96 being one of those, struggled on the way down through 96. We've regained that, but not a good report here. Missing forecast, definitely a question mark, but again, we're starting to bounce maybe off some key areas.
Yeah, Brendo, as you mentioned, it was really the guide here that sent this one down softer than expected, despite the current quarter being good and the year-over-year improvements. Q3 revenue, $1.36 billion, topping estimates of $1.29, and most notably, 134% increase on that top line. Despite obviously that increase, they are still reporting a net loss of $110 million, but that's narrowing sharply from the $360 million loss they had last year, and they continue to grow pretty aggressively, and the growth obviously remains tied to AI compute boom. The company has a backlog of $55.6 billion in demand, Brendo, that they can't meet. They signed $6.5 billion partnership with OpenAI, a 6-year deal, that is, $14.2 billion agreement with Meta as well, plus its 6th hyperscaler contract during the quarter. And the CEO, Mike Intrator, Brendo, he confirmed CoreWeave remains supply constrained, but not because of power. They can't actually get the buildings to put these GPUs in and to have enough compute. They're actually running out of space. At least that's what is being spoken about here by the CEO.
Yeah, it looks like price action, though, might be a little bit on the fence, I think. If we do continue to see this bounce, that's the September. We got to go back to September low, where we did bounce off 85, 86 area. And then remember, we rallied all the way to 150 again before this moved down. So wild range here for CoreWeave, guys. Insane
range on CoreWeave. I was actually just pointing out to Obi, when I sat down, there was an optimistic order, and the whole morning long that's been there, they're not getting filled today at $110. It just sticks out in the book, and it's only not a huge amount of shares, but it's like big enough to get your attention, but not big enough that it matters. Like if I see this thing over 103, like maybe there's a reason to join because someone thinks it's getting up there. But the 100 levels we're all key on today. I think, like I said, Nvidia and SMCI are going to be important stocks. But if you just look at the daily chart here, strip all the price action away, it's not going to open up SSR. It's only 8% down, so it could get 10% down. If that happens, I think you have some pretty clear support once you get underneath $90. But for now, that was a dip that held 101. You recently just held almost exactly $100 a couple of days ago. If it tries to fill in that gap, I think that's an area, the 100 to 101. Look for a pop and fade past that. If it does start to hold 103 and something crazy is happening and it's trying to go green, I think there's a join in there. And when I talk about that order on EdgeX that's up at $110, it's an anecdotal thing. I saw, like a couple of years ago, there were a lot of those orders that would be there post earnings, and I was surprised at the amount of times that later on in the day the stock would end up trading to that price. So I haven't seen one in a while, and it's not that big on CoreWeave, and it's pretty unlikely it gets to 110. But that 100 to 101 area, that prior support both 2 days ago and then go back a little further on the daily chart, that's support to resistance.
I think CoreWeave definitely going to be interesting. One of the top names on my list today. We got that initial reaction and then a stronger Kwadunk in and around 5 o'clock there. And we're sustaining below some of those consolidation levels here in the pre-market session. Yes, under that 100 level there as well. And there's that anchored VWAP sitting at $161. $100.61. So that's what I'm looking at here. And some prior day or prior week levels as well coming in at that 100 level. So the week low, last week's low was almost exactly 100, $100.02 there. And I think that's going to be the interesting level. Do we knock up onto that? We also saw earlier, Joe was talking about, we got a bit of a downgrade on the name as well, so maybe that can bring in some sellers as well. But sellers very dominant off of the report, and even coming into the report as well. Look at how beautiful that wick action is. That earnings reaction wicks the day's high and then slams down with all sorts of supply to bring us down a little bit lower here. 93.66s are the pre-market low. So yeah, do we catch a bid? We've already been catching a bid for the past roughly hour or so here. So can we catch one all the way up to here? This is where sellers have been. And then I'm watching VWAP as well today, and that's going to be coming in and around 95, 94. So we are trading above the intraday VWAP on CoreWeave today. So a bit of a VWAP sandwich, but that anchored VWAP is a little bit more interesting to me. That's, again, confluence with that 100 mark. Should be interesting to see what price action does.
I've never heard VWAP sandwich before.
Yeah, a little bit of a, like a pincer move. It's just like
a pincer move. Okay, now
you're rolling deep. Like a pinch.
You're rolling deep here. It's only 922, but I'm going to quickly throw up the imbalances because of this. BBAI is already a 1 million buy imbalance. So with that, I mean, I said I'd probably give it some 15-minute candles and look at Open Door a little more closely, but this kind of puts it on the radar. You do see HIMS there for a small sell, 200,000 shares. I mean, nothing crazy, NEO and XPeng. Really the only big imbalances are SGov's there every single day. We went over this yesterday. It's not going to move. BIL is similar. It's just BBAI for 1 million shares to the buy side. But Rocket Lab, it wasn't just that Rocket Lab beat. It was that ASTS on the other end, a couple of space names, one flying and the other one, yeah, not doing too well. But yeah, we'll focus on probably Rocket Lab. We like it when these kind of short float names go to the upside as opposed to what happened to ASTS.
All right, let's talk RKLB to the upside right now. I was just looking at Rigetti here as well. We'll talk about that in a sec. But RKLB trying to bounce off 52, which is a key level yesterday, and ended up holding, and now here we are with a gap to the upside off the earnings. But we did clear that high going back to September, so definitely some room to run here, but it does need to hold.
Yeah, even with that drop, Brendo, that you were showing there, it's still up 103% year to date, despite the fact that it's off the highs. I mean, look, guys, it was a good report. They have a lot of backlog, demand backlog that they're unable to meet, so that's always a good problem to have. EPS came in at 1 penny, but that surpassed the expectations by the street of a 5-penny loss, and it also reverses a loss year over year. They delivered about $158 million in revenue, which is a 51% year over year increase, and they've beaten EPS estimates now, guys, for 4 straight quarters, so they can really control cost in a sector where it is very hard to control costs. Let's talk about their revenue growth. Growth was driven, of course, from launch services as well, though, as space system segments with a very fast and expanding defense and commercial contract sector. They also have strong momentum, Brendo, from the satellite manufacturing, the government payload, and as I mentioned, 103%. Who can complain?
Another one that's had a monstrous year, Rigetti to the downside here this morning, trying to hold on to that level if you zoom out to 2 days ago, which is around 31. If we do end up holding that, should be okay. But yeah, mixed report. It was the forecast side of things for RGTI, downside too, guys.
Yeah, the mixed report and for Rigetti too, the $1.9 million of upside. You know what gets me about that one? It's like 1.9 million in revenue for a $10 billion company. Like, what's crazier? The ratio of Rigetti's revenue to the actual market cap of the company, or the amount that Cleveland Guardians pitcher was paid to throw a ball, and then they cost him his career. The guy made 5 Gs, and he's probably going to would have made tens of millions in his playing career, and he loses it all over $5,000 on a bet. Well, that's probably more ridiculous because it's just plain stupid. But Rocket Lab, I think, has a chance to be a rocket shot. But the problem is, it's like a 58 breakout here. Like you have prior resistance going into earnings, rounded bottom, but without a breakout above 58 that takes you to the 59.5, and then some continuation to go higher. This is one that to me I'll just wait for. Like, I'll have the order for 58 break. If it breaks and fails, I'll try to take it a second time through, because I think, as long as you're out and about above the pre-market highs, you're looking for that long to continue. So if it fails that break, I'd look for a VWAP dip. But unless we get there, I don't see myself in a trade specifically in Rocket Lab, but I'm going to have that order out there. I feel like if it goes, the potential upside is too good not to take a shot. It has a decent short float. It's basically trying to recover that 50 period after a heavy dip off the open. And then I had mentioned ASTS on the other end of the spectrum. Actually not that bad of a, let's just say, recovery, because at one point in the aftermarket, this was down almost 10%. It's kept trending back in, but this could be worth watching. Like, just say Rocket Lab goes absolutely ham, and this does like a red to green story. It could be a nice little bit of a trailer on sympathy. But Rocket Lab 58 will be my focus between the two, not even close.
Yeah, I think for RKLB here, I was looking at Rigetti. I'm like, wait, no, that's not the right chart here. No, Rocket Lab kind of reminds me of a little bit of the action that the BigBear is doing, where you get that gap up consolidation. The pre-market is kind of stepping up on it, but I threw the anchor on. This is pretty choppy action here. You can see flag in the after hours and a bit of a descending trend in the pre-market as well, coming in back into this anchored VWAP from yesterday. So it should be interesting. I'm watching this range here from that initial reaction, 57 halves, and then the lows coming in at 55s as well. So this little consolidation, we're still trading within there. So a bit of an inside action in the pre-market today relative to that after hours consolidation here on Rocket Lab. So other than that, don't really have too much on watch. CoreWeave, I'm going to be watching off of the open, Neil. We saw that SanDisk was doing some crazy moves yesterday as well. So going to be watching that. Rigetti as well. But yeah, throw it up in the chat. What are you guys watching off of the open? We only have a couple more minutes, guys. So a lot of names on watch. But a lot of the time, especially for the past couple of weeks, Neil, I think the best opportunities literally have fallen into my lap. Right? I'm watching, I'm sitting. A lot of it's just price action based kind of volume. I'm like talking to some other traders as well. Well, a lot of people are talking about just like kind of sitting on their hands a lot in this choppy kind of market here. But maybe today we see something different.
No trade is definitely a trade, and being patient matters. Like, if you looked at yesterday, you had to wait half a day for the short. And I think the reversions on like the Qs or in some of the chip names, they have taken a very long time. I just want to point out that BBAI is now down to 600,000 on the imbalance. So with about 1 minute to go, it was over 1 million shares, now only 600,000 shares to buy. BBAI, of course, up an absolute ton. There was one name on the list that I didn't get to for myself. Yesterday, silver was obviously nice trend long. I'm looking for something similar, but just like at the open, it did a dip and a nice bottoming tail on the 15-minute candle. That was the reason to enter, and then a dip into the same price and trend break up here was another reason to get in. So it's about being patient. Sure, I like the long, but if it tries to fill in the gap, I can go long off the high. I can wait for VWAP to start holding. I can wait for that bottoming tail candle at the open. It's just a matter of patience. It's not just, buy the dip as it randomly falls all over itself. So I'm going to throw up probably BBAI at the open with that imbalance now. Only 600,000 shares, just trying to take out the top. We've seen the story before, and thank you very much, and shout out to AIML Innovations, AIML for sponsoring this opening bell. We've seen this story before here as we ring it, where you get a buy imbalance and it dips at the open. So be careful about BBAI for that one. Nvidia already will be heading to the downside. That did not take very long. It just broke the low of the day, so no chance for it to get up to that 196.5, which was the key price that I was looking for. If it does get there, a little pop and fade action. Adara already.
Definitely keep an eye here in AIML trading on the CSE, that's AIML Innovations, because guys, they just launched a major milestone. Their US patent has been approved for a new neural network approach that actually improves how ECG signals are cleared and interpreted. This is going to strengthen their competitive edge as they move towards the commercialization of their max yield and cardio yield platform. So again, that is AIML trading on the CSE. Back to Neil and Opie.
Thank you very much. This core weave over here catching a little bit of a VWAP bid here. 96 is held, but it's still kind of chopping. Nothing too crazy. This could slam back down as well. 93.66s, don't forget, are those pre-market lows. 97.40s now, so that 100 mark could be very, very interesting if that potentially comes in. Market tailwind definitely a little bit on our side with those initial candles on both the ES and the Nasdaq pushing up a little bit higher. Here is 98. Can we push past 98 with any sort of distinction here? I'm waiting. I'm watching. A little bit of a taker there underneath that 98. That's opening range high as well. That's coming in at 98 halves. I'm looking for that 98 halves to potentially push as well. But CoreWeave, a little bit of a lackluster open as we're still kind of churning in and around that opening range, and it's only been about 1 minute and 45 seconds.
BBAI was an absolute trap. I was trying to spit that out as fast as I could. That sometimes you get these buy imbalances on gappers and you do the dip. So it absolutely was a trap. Now down at $6.50, still up 13%, but languishing badly here at the open. So speaking of open door doing a little bit better. It's trying to close back above VWAP in the $8. That's going to be the entry for me, if it can do it. It just hasn't done it yet. And I know we didn't get a chance to talk about Tesla. Tesla, huge wipeout bottom and now going higher as the Nasdaq and the ES both trying to climb. Looking very strong here for Tesla off the open. So BBAI tanking, open, nope, it's not going to hold. Not going to hold that volume weighted average price. That is now headed decidedly lower as well. So you got to be patient. If you're looking for dip buys, I got to preach that patience for you on some of those small cap names. Silver, not at VWAP either. We waited a little bit. It actually took 5 to 10 minutes before we got into this one for the long trade yesterday. I expect possibly the same thing again here today.
Yeah, so we dipped back down into 95s and change. That was, again, in and around VWAP right now, so I'm watching it closely. It is chopping, right? Sellers did come in kind of a little aggressively here, and that 95 could be a little interesting as well. A little bit of a whole dollar level, as well as the opening range low as of right now is, just 95.04s here. I was also watching Oscar Health. That's coming in with a little bit of a bid, that $15 level as well. didn't really get anywhere. In terms of the Mag 7s, I see that Apple is pushing Tesla as well. And here comes CoreWeave potentially back through that 25. So you know what? I'm not going to stay my welcome for very long there. 94s and some change in the pre-market session. I think I got to figure out what the SSR level is for this name here. But Oscar coming into that $15 level as of right now.
Oscar's already SSR.
To watch out for. What do you got on open?
Did you mention Oscar was SSR from yesterday? If that's the one you were talking about. Oscar was down over double digits. So Open Door is breaking back out above the and Open Door has broken back out above the volume weighted average price. You can clearly see. I was just you can see my bids. I banged nothing. I didn't get the fill. I tried to get it breaking through just there, and I tried to add through 4. So I'm going to try to get picked up on the way back in. The annoying thing about being patient and trying to get it, and then it snaps back and does fill me. See, leave your orders in, and sometimes you will get filled. But my 5 order canceled my order at 2, so I'm just going to get my other order back in. My stop is going to be the pre-market low prior to that original dump. So underneath like that 790 area on Open Door. BBAI still trading down. This is BBI, still looking pretty red there. Trying to put in a higher low BBAI, but I just felt like Open, probably a little bit less crazy is the word, because I think BBI has a lot more risk in that first 15-minute bar than Open Door. So got the bouncer and Open back above the $8 level. As this one let me back in, I'll see if I can't get some 12s in there. Takes them out at 12. I want one more out in front of the prior high, and then we see if this one can actually fly. The market not doing much here, Obi. But the small cappers, Open Door and BBI, are flying around.
Oh, yeah.
Adara?
Yeah, I have basically the opposite of a small cap story here. Spotify, it's worth noting there is not very much volume on this. We're talking under 100,000 shares traded on the day. But be aware, SPOT is going to be on watch, announcing something here with the National Music Publishers Association. So Spotify and the NMPA signing an agreement to grow direct licensed audiovisual content for independent publishers. So again, direct licensed audiovisual agreement here between Spotify, SPOT, and the National Music Publishers Association. Back to you.
Thank you, Adara. That's a bit of a mouthful there. But the market is going to have some trouble if NVIDIA is not going to get going. NVIDIA breaking back down underneath these lows. And keep an eye on, it's interesting that the Nasdaq is actually trying to break VWAP a little bit higher, and we're doing this little bit of a dip on NVIDIA. I wanted to pop and fade into the pre-market high. I'm going to cancel that for now, because if we hold the low and fly higher, that's not the way to just sit on the offer and get snapped up. Still want to get run over in that regard. BBAI is still, I think, looking for a bid. You now have the prior pre-market low holding. So decent consolidation. You've got a lit grab. Let's see if it can show you any kind of continuation and not just a lower high here on BBI. Still 16%, 7% short float. I think this one has a chance. Open Door, which I am in, did go right into that prior day high. A little bit of a dip back into VWAP at 8, which I did not get filled at 2s. I'll try again. Put my order in front of the $8 level and see how far this goes. I think 850 is the obvious target here on Open Door. I'd love for BBAI to go as well, but I'm not just going to jump into that one unless the buyers start to come in too.
Yeah, I'm watching this CoreWeave, man. This thing slammed down aggressively. Don't forget, this is SSR. This is SSR now, and if people are hitting into the bid on an SSR name, those are pretty much people who have inventory that are selling, people who are already long. So that's a piece of information. So as soon as that kind of behavior stops, I want to look for that distinct difference and maybe potentially see some of that SSR mechanic actually kick in, where sellers are kind of a little bit struggling to get back in. But again, this thing is coming down from its former glory here all the way. I see highs at 187s on CoreWeave when I'm looking here at the weekly chart. But yeah, that low of the pre-market session got violated there, and we broke below down to 92 40s here. Now we're getting a bit of a reversion with the bid coming back in. Where is VWAP, you may ask? VWAP sitting at 95.40s here. 95, oh, okay, I didn't want to do that. 95.40s on at VWAP here on CoreWeave as it pushes back up. So I don't know if we're going to get all the way to 95.40s, but I am going to be a little bit wary here and understand that, yeah, sellers have been in charge. This is the first kind of bid that's been happening. So I want to stay as nimble as possible. And when they did start hitting the bid, man, they came in real hot and heavy. So that could step in at any given time here. So I just want to get involved and stay as nimble as possible with any sort of selling or buying I see that is getting a little bit aggressive here. So let's go down to a 1 minute and see what that's been up to. Okay, so there isn't really that much information there, just on that 1 minute candle. But you can see I got with the bid off of the open. I was like, okay, well, if we're going to break opening range low, we definitely have room to the downside because sellers have been pretty much in charge, and then get involved with the next bid that I see here for a quick little scalp off into that 93s to 94 halves there. Where's the next trade? Oscar is at $15, but how much volume has this thing done? 2.02. All right, 2 million volume. That's not bad. That's good volume. That's good volume. And this,
and it's SSR.
Yeah, this is a name that's also SSR. I did not need to borrow shorts on this one. So I'm going to be watching this $15 level here. It seems like CoreWeave might want to hold some of these lows here as well. But you know what? I'm out of that one. Where's the next trade?
Whoa.
That's what I'm asking as of right now. What do you got going on?
I was about to go over Open Door first and then SMCI, because usually it's the one that you're concerned with you want to talk about first. But like the second we got back into $8 on Open Door, you can see the wick to 98. Someone bought it back right back up above VWAP. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten up the stop a little bit tighter to where that buyer was, just so I'm not holding it into that absolute low. I've gotten most of it out for a scalp trade, but I'm going to hold on to the last piece. If we can close again above VWAP, it'll look better. But I said I'm going to stay away from the other chip names and go back to short SMCI. Why? Because it's weak. It's been weak since earnings, so break down yesterday's low, short it at VWAP. If it doesn't play into 41 and doesn't pop and fade, then short the volume weighted average price on the way back in and essentially try to hold. Like this is what it did yesterday. It did the exact same thing yesterday and fell $1. So it's just at 39.8. I think you can do the exact same thing here and fall back into this 38.8, which was a little bit of support there from a couple of days ago. So weakness in SMCI, weakness in Nvidia to start the day, although this has yet to fall apart. Nvidia is also trending to the downside. Nasdaq not really doing a heck of a lot here, Obi, but it is breaking lower. And there's the buyer that was protecting me, was protecting the $8 level on open, they just gave it up. I wanted to tighten up the stop so that I'm not really losing a heck of a lot on the way back in. If the only break we get is 8 to 8.20, and then we have to wait for the next trade, that's fine. But I don't want to get wrapped up in a failed break of the high and then trying to fight this thing if it's not closing candles above VWAP. So far, so good. Short on SMCI. And I wish I could tell you guys that BBAI was looking super good. It's looking better than it was before. But it just had a heavy candle losing VWAP. Not a lot of buying coming in here yet on BigBear.
Yeah, I'm watching this $15 level as Oscar kind of churns around. I did try another attempt at a potential. I was like, okay, maybe I did leave some on the table here. I'm looking for that action, a quick next push off of this consolidation. What was the short-term consolidation? And that high came in at what, 94.60s right here on the chart. So I did get long on the 94.60s, but then we couldn't really sustain, and that buying kind of dissipated. So I'm just like, all right, I'm getting out of there right there. And yeah, coming right back into the low. So there's choppy action, to say the least, here on CoreWeave. If you had the short off of this opening range failure to follow through in the back through pre-market lows and that 95 as well, I thought that opening range low breakdown was a great place to kind of make a bit of a decision there as well. So if you were looking for the short, that's been working out pretty nicely here into that $93 level as of right now. Oscar continues to push through 15, so I'm going to be done with that one for now. I was a little bit short biased, and I don't necessarily want to look for the long just yet on this one. But this 95, I guess it couldn't even get to VWAP. So all right, it's seller dominance on the day, down on earnings, right? A little bit of a downgrade. Any sort of bids so far? So far, we've got two significant bids, in my opinion, and I try to participate in both of them. both of them getting slammed down with sellers, and then can't even get back to VWAP. All of those things kind of confluence together and tell me, that maybe, perhaps, that sellers are in charge. The market as well, the top wicks on these 15-minute candles,
Micron.
sellers are in charge. Yeah, we were talking about Micron this morning.
But then I went to what's work. The thing about, yeah, I'll slap a fail on this one. Not being short Micron's a fail, but what I was going to say is that like SMCI shorts worked every single day since earnings. So if you have a trade that's worked every day after earnings, you should go back and do that. But it looks like Micron did fall apart at 250 almost immediately. It's going to be tricky. These data names, SanDisk, SNDK was one of them. I bet you that's, not really falling all over itself, but also a little bit weak. But we've seen a correlation, Obi, where when the market's going down like this, the chips are weak, that Apple catches a bid. Absolutely. It is like this is the anti-AI trade in the tech space right now. It's to be long Apple when the Nasdaq is falling and Nvidia and the chips are weak. But one thing to point out,
it's coming into that area.
At about 272 to 73, Obi and I were looking at this earlier, the stock has not been able to get past this. It's been a wall, accumulation wall, but also big sellers at that 73. So be careful chasing Apple. Zoom out that 15-minute chart, everybody, and see what is looming out in front of you, because it could be a little bit nasty of a rejection area. Probably worth maybe Joe, if he's listening to me right now, checking out what the chain looks like, because maybe there's something big at 75, which is causing us to fade that level every single time. When I say us, I mean the actual market. CoreWeave is now SSR. It's down over 10%.
It's catching some bids.
So it might be, I said if it got 10% down, I'd look for reversion, but that might already be it. There's your bottoming tail. There's your trend break. I'm not going to chase that move. I got to think about if the market's bouncing here, where do I get out of that SMCI, and where do I potentially look for the next trade? For now, like this one, I'm still on it. It just put in a bit of a bottom tail, but it's still consolidating off the lows. I think you want to give this one a chance. I'll probably reload VWAP here. It worked yesterday to reload underneath VWAP. If it does the same thing again, then I got to be ready to hit the keys.
Yeah, even before you kind of pulled up that Apple, I was looking across the board, and we had talked about Apple into that zone this morning. So I already kind of pulled it up here. Bit of a dabble on the front side on my part, but I do want to feel it out. This bid is pretty aggressive. This market's coming in pretty hot as well. Maybe we do break out. Maybe we get to 274s. I have no idea, but I'm willing to give it a little bit of room here, staying a little light here as of right now. 273.25s, aggressive strength coming in off of the open. Can the market give us a little bit of tailwind as well? Maybe, perhaps, we're catching some bids in and around, what is this, 25,600 on the Nasdaq, and then maybe off of this 6840 here on the ES as well. But my question right now on Apple is, can you hold the quarter, print the half? And it's kind of chopping around the quarter right now. So 73 halves, I might be finding a little bit more interesting here, but we'll see. This area has been a supply zone for the past couple of weeks, and if it's going to continue to be the same, I'm looking for more of the same here on Apple. What's going on in there?
Just be aware here, if you're trading CRWV or watching this name, it looks like CEO of the company, Mike and Trader, is on CNBC right now. He's saying that there's lots to be proud of with their Q3 earnings, but they just had one issue with that one specific singular provider. They also talked here about Core Scientific. They said their demand remains insatiable for what they provide. So again, CoreWeave CEO pretty optimistic here about these earnings during the CNBC interview. Just be aware that he is speaking if you happen to be trading this name. No economic data at 9:45 a.m. or 10. Back to you.
What's he going to say? Oh no, the sky is falling. I'm not coming. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder. It's weird. Like, you don't want them to be candid, but you want them to be candid. So you take what you can get. Be happy when there are CEOs that are candid and don't hate on them all the time. Elon. I looked over and like, what else do I like to the south side? Because the market wasn't going. And I settled on the other name that was a good short in chip space, and that was Intel. And Intel, lower highs. It's simple. Volume weighted average price, lower highs. Good as short in front of the lower high, and continue to try to fade as the market comes back in. However, everybody, Rocket Labs is trying. It's doing its best. It's trying to break. I had my order at the open. It's still in there. I'm taking a breakout on Rocket, but I don't want this the only way to look for the long. You're not seeing a lot of strength right now. Like this is the Nasdaq. It's not doing much. We're just kind of inside the range. We kind of failed a high break. We're underneath VWAP. Not much happening. So if we fail this breakout and I see this strength hold, I want to try to, if it closes above VWAP, which I think it should, try to look for a VWAP play. If the break fails, there's also this accumulation at 56.5, so it could pull back for a dip into that. But for now, that 58 breakout still intact on Rocket Labs. Want to look for that one to go.
Wow.
Ooh, the market
is strong on this.
It's all green candles, but they're really, really tiny on the Nasdaq.
Yeah,
it's a weird up move, to be honest with you, because Tesla's down, the chips are down, at least for now.
Yeah, I'm just gonna get out of Apple here because that strength is absolutely aggressive. I did add a little bit there, but I was like, I'm only gonna give it about $1 here with the kind of move that it's doing. Like I said before, I'm gonna stay a little bit light on this one and try to re-engage on the right side. Definitely a lot more aggressively if and when that does come in. But we have kind of broken out of that area, that double top-ish area here. So earnings, let's go to the chart and take a look at where we might find some other levels here. But I do want to stay involved with this 274 if it continues to kind of push around here. So you know what? I will just kind of deal with that here on 274. Let's see, just a little bit of a dabble once again. But guys, Beta Pro by Global X. So savvy Canadian traders who are looking to boost their exposure can now tap into the Nasdaq 100, S&P 500 with Beta Pro 3 times daily leveraged ETFs, featuring built-in FX hedging. This aims to amplify short-term market moves, minimizing the impact of currency swings. Whether you're feeling bullish or bearish, these ETFs are built for active day traders, ready to take on the market. Read the full risk disclosure in the prospectus at betapro.ca before investing. So the market is kind of coming down into its lows. So that selling came in pretty aggressively. So when I'm looking at the Mag 7 here, I'm kind of curious as to where that's potentially coming in from. There's Nvidia.
Whoa, huge drop.
Nvidia coming in with a little bit of sell.
AMD was chilling.
Wow.
AMD was cruising. AMD was doing all kinds of wonderful things until somebody just dumped it at 240. Someone dumped it through 245. That's a $2 or $3 candle in there. Look, that was a pretty nasty reversal there. AMD was the only chip name that was green. Now it is decidedly red. This is obviously good news for. Shorts. Is SMCI, missed that fill. SMCI heading right back into the low of the day. We get to 39 even. I'm going to have a bid out there at the even dollar to cover this one. That's a pretty hefty break of the low of the day. Intel, I was trying to reload SMCI, not Intel, but both of these have fallen to the downside. For Intel, target 37.6. That is a level from 2 days ago, so just go back to Friday in the afternoon. So just one more salvo to the downside, and we're looking to jump out this one. So a couple of big heavy wicks in the chip space just now, but it was actually AMD that led that spike to the downside. Like this was cruising, and somebody slammed the bid there on AMD. Sometimes if it's a single order that does it, I'm looking to get out. If the short's still good, I can always regroup.
Yeah, so that Apple supply coming in with the market there as well. We got some prior bar breaks happening as well, coming back into that range area. So now the question is Apple going to stay aggressively strong while the rest of the market kind of takes a little bit of a breather here? You see the Nasdaq and the ES pulling back into its lows. Maybe ES a little bit delayed in terms of breaking its lows as of right now. But I'm watching this Apple. If we can kind of consolidate here, that makes this a little bit worse. But if we can kind of take a little bit of a pullback, I'm looking for symmetry. I'm looking for a little bit of aggressive selling, because we did get aggressive buying, but that's not always going to be the case, right? That symmetry is it's ideal, but it's definitely a little rare there as well. If we're going to push right back through the highs, then yeah, I don't really have too much business being here for much longer. But the market, a little bit of a pullback, man. We kind of attempted the range highs off of the open. Now we're attempting range lows off of the first couple 15-minute candles here. So a little bit of a shake and bake. But Apple is aggressively strong, Neil. So distinctly different, to say the least.
You know what was
different?
different?
Through the low.
That SanDisk was distinctly different a minute ago. This is going to, on a 15-minute chart here, this was trying to break out when the market was going lower. This might reverse big time. This feels like, if this is the topping tail candle on Sandus, this could be a little bit of the back end of the trade, but it needs to lose 257. Afternoon support, morning range bottom. I feel like this breaking 257 and the floodgates could open on SNDK. The other stock that I have on watch still is Open. It's not, look, Open didn't fall apart. It's actually still holding some higher lows here, but no closes, not a single close on the 3-minute above the volume weighted average price outside of when I was like punching long into it the first time. So it needs to do some buying above $8. The second I see that, I'm going to take another shot in there. Intel got low of the day, so once again, that stock just continues to languish. And plus, there was a story on Intel, some executive shuffle up, but it got into that support, so I'm out. I was trying to reload SMCI and didn't get it. That's headed down toward target at $39. Gets there, I'm going to jump out of that one. Is the market not going too crazy? Christopher Ocean, why are you hung up on Open every day? Hasn't been a good trade for months. What?
Are you crazy?
Open Door, for the last 2 days, Open Door has been one of the best longs in the market.
Yeah.
I mean, no, don't get me wrong.
Solid, yeah.
Don't get me wrong. If you're swing trading Open long, you've probably been having a rough time of it. But since earnings, I mean, look, that's just, again, look, that's just my opinion. So anyone can believe, you know, it is what it is. It was a great long 2 days ago that I wasn't a part of. It was a great long yesterday that we had yesterday. Like, that's a good long. I want to look for that. If it doesn't do it again and it's only a scalp trade, fine, fair enough. But look what the stock did the last couple of days. I mean, I don't have any strong opinions about Open fundamentally or on any other basis, but come on, like that. The last 2 days speak for themselves, I think.
No, I think that's very fair, Neil. You got to look at the kind of volume and the kind of range things are doing. We know that Open Door was pretty. Again, this is the move continuation off of earnings, right? This is earnings day 3 or something like that. Squeeze. Yeah, it was literally squeezing. So is it in play? I think definitely. Are there other names potentially in play? Of course. This is a pretty interesting market. There's almost something for everyone if you're hunting for it, right? So a little bit of selling coming in here now on Apple. Can this finally make it to I guess VWAP, maybe VWAP 270, 272.40s I have on VWAP. Let's look at some higher time frames here as well. I'm only looking at a 3-minute as of right now. So 5 minutes right here, 5-minute prior bar low is coming in here at 273.35s, but the current bar is opening. Well, so far the current 5-minute is a flat top. So I'm thinking, what's the probability of going back through the open on this current 5-minute bar on Apple? A lot of shake and bakes here. So pretty crazy. So bring it to you here live. So don't forget to subscribe. I forgot what the unsubscribe number there was real quick.
21.3%.
21.3%? 21.4%. Okay. All right. Guys, come on. You got to pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers.
We're supposed to be making progress. That's supposed to go down. That 21.4 is supposed to go to 21.3, then 21.2, and all that good stuff. That's how it's supposed to happen. But look, first off, Christoph Ocean, I forget to zoom out on the charts all the time. I forget the name of the stock yesterday. I was like playing a long, like a secondary long, and then I zoomed out to the 15-minute chart and realized I had gotten long right into overhead resistance. I'm like, oh, you should pop out and look for something a little bit better. But Open Door, the Open Army is winning today relative to the checks notes. BBAI is above VWAP as well. Okay, so BBAI is trying to go. It tried VWAP the first time, obviously failed abjectly. This looks a little bit better. If BBAI can break this, it's like a 680. I'm going to take a 680 break. It's going to put a stop order here on BBAI through 680. There we go. So now if it breaks 680, I'm just going to get into the long and play that one off of VWAP. Open Door, the pre-market high is obviously going to be a bit of a thing, but I wanted to zoom out to show you if it breaks 830, you really just have 15 to 20 cents till you get to the next high. So I feel like this is going to be a scalp trade. Fail this high, take it out, buy the dip into VWAP as well, and hopefully BBI wants to join the party. The market also catching a bit of a bid here, Obi.
Yeah, market's catching a little bit of a bid here as well. I'm trying to be as nimble as possible. I'm talking about this Apple here. We are kind of consolidating on top of those kind of wicks that we were talking about earlier. So I do want to be wary. This is what I said. If we're going to stay aggressively strong and just consolidate in the upper quartile of the action in the market, and it's giving the market time to kind of consolidate and maybe bounce back as well, that's not the best, right? So I do want to be wary of that and aware. Can we trade below 273 halves? That's the next question that I'm asking here. 272s and some change is where VWAP is sitting at now. VWAP, yeah, sometimes it's just a line on a chart, but sometimes it may be a little bit more meaningful of an indicator, especially for me, where I'm just like, all right, well, if something's had an aggressive move, what can I use to identify what kind of the mean of the action is to look for potential reversion or to target a potential reversion? And yeah, that VWAP's coming in at 272s and some change. So that's about $1 down here on Apple, but you can see the market distinctly different with ES and the Nasdaq pushing up higher. Is this opposite day for Apple? That's what I'm asking, Neil. When the market goes down, Apple goes up, and the market goes up, does Apple go down? I don't know, but that strength is definitely dissipating a little bit.
Yeah, well, I can tell you right now, I jumped out of both the trades, open at the high, SMCI at the low. The market just did a U-turn candle, and then there's a reversal candle on SMCI. So I see that trail kind of goes in. It tried to hold, and look, it just broke right back above, so I jumped out of that one. Ultimately, I can get back in at the volume-weighted average price, but the Nasdaq seems like it's pretty strong. That last candle looked like a reversal, and it's a pretty hefty wick on the 15, which is looking like it's going to close green. I'm not waiting for that to close green. I'll just get out of what I think is the bottom. Open door as well. I've only really traded the 3 names today, and oddly enough, it's been Open, SMCI, Intel. I have not traded BBAI yet. That hasn't broken out. I haven't traded Rocket Lab, which is right now the 4 stock I'm watching. But we failed that top, the pre-market high. Going to look for another entry right around $8 in VWAP. That's the only price that I've transacted at. Jumping back over to said Rocket Lab. Still refuses to break out the high. I don't think I should be waiting for a 58 break. It's showing you more like 57 or 57.5. I think I'm going to take a 57.5 break into 58 if it can get there. But so far, so good. Inside day for the market, but open door has moved up and looks pretty solid. BBI is trying to go, Rocket Lab trying to go, and we're going to Adara.
Yeah, it's super OM day for these economic data releases as well. We don't have anything scheduled. The only Fed speaker is at 10:25 p.m., so well after the market closes. Now it is worth noting at 11 a.m. we'll get comments from U.S. President Donald Trump, but he's at a Veterans Day ceremony, so not necessarily likely that it'll be market-related, but truly anything can happen. Right now, though, what's happening with the market, as Neil mentioned, is a lot of inside action. Nothing too exciting here, but lots of excitement if you are an AI name. Let's take a look here at AMD, Advanced Micro Devices on watch here with its Analyst Day that's happening today. CEO Lisa Su will be there as far as I'm seeing. And yeah, apparently Bank of America liking this one ahead of that day. Let's talk here about NVDA, NVIDIA, SoftBank offloading. This headline here is the combined NVIDIA and T-Mobile stake. So just over $5 billion worth of NVIDIA, closer to $10 billion here worth of T-Mobile. But SoftBank here offloading its NVIDIA stake. NVDA did gap down. You're still down 2.5%, and it's actually off of its lows. Now, last but not least here, CoreWeave, CRWV, this one kind of languishing near its low of day as well. Big gap down on earnings. They did have a double beat, but they lowered their guidance for sales for the fiscal year, and they said that one of their data center partners or developers is having some delays right now. Before we send you back to Neil and Obi for more action-packed trading, let's talk about Origenics. Because each year, 3.8 million concussions are reported in the U.S., and yet there is still no FDA-approved treatment. So the NYSE-listed Origenics, OGEN, is changing that with its first in-class intranasal drug, which is designed for rapid brain access. With the concussion treatment market projected to reach $8.9 billion by 2027, Origenics is uniquely positioned to lead the way. Learn more. Schedule a meeting today. Back to Neil and Obi, and make sure to like and subscribe.
Thank you very much, Adara. There's the selling on Apple. You just have to be a little patient. right? Sometimes it can be a little bit choppy. I was staying nimble, and I was like, when it does come in aggressively, I do want to kind of, really pound it in a lot more than the front side, right? So it's just like when that bid is just getting weak, you just sometimes, especially in blue ocean, you learn this as well. Like when you see the move happen, if you're not removing liquidity, if you're not taking out the book, like you're gonna be late to the party, right? Because like for example, last night there was like that 200. I was trying to look for that long into that 200, and then I think it was 198.90s or 199.90s. There was like it was like 800 to 900 shares or something on the bid, and I saw the dude starting to decrement. And I'm like, and then there's no liquidity for another 20, 30 pennies down. And I'm like, if this guy gets taken out, decrement?
Of course, decrement.
When this guy gets taken out, it's gonna drop down like 20, 30 pennies. There's no more liquidity. Sure, people can step in, but visible liquidity is, again, this beautiful thing about Blue Ocean. But yeah, no, that buyer kind of sitting there, that was, I'm waiting for that buyer to decrement as well. Yeah, it just means like get less of. I don't even know how to effectively like define it.
Yeah, Brian Thompson, I caught the phrasing too on that one.
Yeah.
But I didn't say anything. I kept my mouth shut on that one.
No, but when the backside comes in, you really got to get involved.
That's right? Not what trust me, that's not what you said. It was something else that you
Here's
said.
Here's VWAP on Apple.
I don't know I know all of you heard what he said.
Heard what I said.
That there. Look, we're back to now I have to try to compose myself. We're back to VWAP on Intel. I tried a quick little salvo as the market's rolling over, but we're still closing above. I think that might have been front end. It held VWAP before to the low of the day. Huge reversal candle. So got to respect that. But you're back into prior day lows. So I think that's the spot that I'm looking for. If it can just kind of roll over and give me a more clean entry to the south side, that'll make sense. Open door. Okay, it did a better break of the high. Like I would have been out anyways, but I might have got a few extra cents if I had maybe put the trail a little bit later. But now pulling right back into VWAP in the $8 level on its own. So still looking for a re-entry on open. It seems like it's falling a little bit to the downside. Novo is going absolutely ham. There's no end in sight for Novo. 5% to the upside. This might be this is a trend break that everybody's been waiting for on the daily in Novo. This really might be it. This has been trying to break trend. Probably needs to take out 49.5 to 50 to be really decisive. I'd almost argue the $50 level. But Novo up 5% on a buy program right now. It's very distinct. Like look at the 15-minute. You essentially have two open bars bigger than anything you saw yesterday. So this is a mean reversion trade at some point today, but not yet. Too strong. Don't want to fight it. I think if I'm looking short, I'm going to stick with Intel and SMCI. Intel hasn't really set up perfectly yet, but SMCI trying to get back into VWAP. That's where the next trade is. It's one of those two. Either we get Intel cleanly, which it's trying to do off VWAP right now, or SMCI will at least get to the volume weighted average price. Market looking like it's coming back in. Relative weakness in the chip space, like here's Nvidia, that looks weak as well. So pretty much all systems go to try to re-enter some of these short trades. But again, patience with that Novo. I think at some point it usually slows down or stops, but I wouldn't want to try to get in front of the moving freight train yet.
Yeah, I think that that selling is just. We don't know if it's over yet. We're still kind of consolidating in that opening range. Opening range lows are being tested. We did drop down and then a wick back up. So yeah, a lot of chop happening there. So when that's happening, I'm looking for things that are acting distinctly different. I've mentioned this before as well on the show where I'm just like, okay, well, a lot of things follow that market beta when I'm looking at the Mag 7s. So if I'm looking at the Mag 7s every day, I want to start to understand and realize, like, okay, what are different nuances? What are different kind of actions that mark distinct difference? And I think Apple today was just screaming at all of us, right? It was just like, okay, the whole market's tanking. There's the FLS on Apple there. That's coming in.
We just had a move.
News. So yeah, I think we're just going to go to Dara to see what's up.
Yeah, I saw this one headline here. I'm not sure if this is the reason for the drop, but apparently U.S. consumers' job market fears are surging with Americans' perceived probability of higher unemployment up to 4.3%. Keep an eye here as well on Google, GOOGL, apparently saying they plan to invest 5.5 billion euros in German cloud infrastructure. We already actually had this reported. And also the UK apparently suspending some intelligence sharing with the US. So lots happening here. I also want to mention here with Nova Nordisk, there is a story here. Reuters reporting that the company is cutting Wegovy prices by as much as 33% in India. Back to you.
That's good. Thank you, Adara. That was wild just now. The heavy candle, times you're fortunate. Like I had just gotten back in. That's probably just good fortune to have gotten VWAP again. I find if you're ever trading, like if you like a directional trade, sometimes the best entry point is right after it's like stopped everybody out. And if that includes you, you have to get back in. It just is what it is. Like sometimes the market really doesn't care if you lost your last trade or what happened to you on that stock. It's going to do what it's going to do. So back in it, VWAP on Intel. Obviously that spike down is not going to let me back into SMCI, unfortunately. Novo did not care what the market just did, breaking back to the lows, at least for now. It's still on a very strong uptrend. I'm going to track this on Novo for this trend since like that open crazy rush, like something like that. If I see a pretty decisive break of that trend, I think the pullback into VWAP can be good. And as always, it's confirmed that we actually have shorts on this, which we do. That's real trading. Not that I think we wouldn't have shorts on Novo. But yeah, the short's working here. I think you want to ride it as far as you can. Neil in the chat, my namesake, saying Dell getting smoked. If it's in the chip space right now and it isn't fading, it's worth noting. If you're in that phase, like the memory names are already getting smoked. I showed you SMCI, which to me is like the worst example. Like Dell's better than SMCI, so if SMCI is down, a lot of times they'll be down. It's weird to me that Dell is actually down more than SMCI. I think if I had to buy one of the two, I would buy Dell. I actually own neither one of those two, but I would easily pick Dell over SMCI if I had to.
It's part of my quantum sector. What do you think about that? Like
Dell's part of the quantum sector?
Yeah, for me.
Are they developing as
well? I think they're definitely involved in some.
What's their direct attachment to quantum? See, I don't know.
I forget what I made this basket a while back. Here's selling. But I made this basket a while back. But you know what? I'll just ask. Be like, all right, what is IBM's? What is?
See, I have like IBM, yes. Alphabet, yes. Like to me, the best two plays fundamentally in the quantum computing space are Alphabet and IBM. But I didn't know Dell.
IBM for sure. Yeah, no. You know what? Maybe it is. Maybe I'm mixing it up.
I think you're thinking. Yeah, I think you're thinking IBM.
That's what
which is fine.
You know what? Sorry. Yeah, that is what it is. I'm like, wait. No, are we talking about the same one? Yeah, no. Dell, IBM. I can just see the chart in my head. I don't really remember the name.
I have to answer the question for PNAC.
IBM is a core player in quantum right now. Not just hardware, but the whole stack: chip systems, cloud access, software, and ecosystem. So yeah, IBM's definitely a little bit part of that.
So PMAC. Did you sell your SMCI? Well, yeah, I got out of it. It's a short, so I bought it back. But the reason for it was pretty simple. Like if I'm looking, like the same thing on Novo where I'd be looking for a trend break, if I see that same thing happen where if I was flat, like if I didn't have a position in SMCI and I was looking to enter one as a mean reversion, that would be an entry for me. It would have been like a trend break and entry. So I'll use it as an exit point near the lows. Thank you so much for the refill there, Randy. Appreciate it.
Let's see.
I haven't looked at
Rivian was hella strong yesterday. Oh yeah.
Is it though?
Let's see.
Little pullback.
Oh wow! Look at that. Yeah, continuation on a day two. Even stronger action today. Yeah, baby, indeed. Look at that thing go. Look at where it's coming into the weekly as well. You know what? Let's take a quick look at this. I'm gonna get out of this one here. Where is my chart? That's the next question here. Okay. So boom.
What is this stock? I sold everything the last time. I didn't get back. Yeah, I did because.
Go look at this week.
No, like look. Anyways, I think all three of us at one point were in this. Myself, Sean, and you're still in it. I believe Sean's still in it. But I sold everything.
Wow.
It couldn't make this breakout. Like how many times did it try? It didn't break. This is gonna go. So here's what I'm seeing.
Look at that.
Here's what I see. There's your higher lows. I mean, it's not perfect higher highs, but this time, like if it breaks out 19, it could get explosive West Coast. Anyways, I'm not going to finish that. I don't know the clean version of that, so I can't finish it. Yeah, that's a good. You got a good one there, Randy.
That is solid. Look at this consolidation base, man. I mean, I think we're looking at the same chart here, the weeklies, right? So the weekly highs, this consolidation, the base, slow, yeah, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, and it's really like accumulating, you know, I guess a little bit of accumulation happening there.
Trees. I call that the forest.
Yeah.
What we do,
You're just looking for this this tree to just kind of get through that $20 level, right?
that could really squeeze.
Yeah.
Because there's shorts in Rivian. That's what makes it so interesting.
A lot of people are betting against it.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure we did this. So Jameson in the chat, not to call you out, Jameson. Hopefully you're not Jameson Williams in the chat. And if you are Jameson Williams in the chat, maybe that's not an appropriate hat to wear in a press conference. Just throwing that out there, brother. I have you in both my fantasy leagues, but what are you doing? If you're putting symbols in the chat, please use dollar signs. I saw Jameson put in Tesla without the dollar sign, so I'll do it for you. And when I do, Tesla should then, oh, there it goes, CMG, Reddit. Number one by far right now is BBAI. This, again, is just our viewers, so hop in, hit the like, hit the subscribe, especially the subscribe, because if you're not subscribed, you can't be in the chat. We have a great community out there, so everyone wants to know about BBAI, Open, and Tesla, SoFi, NVIDIA. Of all of these top names, the only ones that have not been covered are Tesla and SoFi. SoFi, the first chartered bank as of today to get crypto trading. I'm already in Intel, but SoFi, I think it's a big milestone. It's good for SoFi. Oh, it is back above. Oh, nice reversal on SoFi here. Market weak, SoFi's caught a bit again. So this is what you should look for. Look for the relatively strong names to resume. I didn't love SoFi today because of like this rejection candle and the fact that we rejected essentially 31 before. But if we're breaking away from 31, that gets a little bit spicy. Yeah, but so there was a minor story here for SoFi, which I think is a decent one. It doesn't seem to want to help it. But the market's too weak today. It almost feels like here, Obi.
Yeah, no,
but it is green.
Seller dominant, yeah.
It is green.
The thing, SoFi might. I don't know what the specific beta is, and even on days where you know, it kind of follows the market. I'm not too familiar with that one there. Yeah, but CoreWeave to the downside, man. 95 was the area. I think we saw seller dominance, and I was just like, okay, this is not really getting through. I'm like, the long, I don't necessarily like the long as much here, but coming into VWAP and then a little bit of a test of that opening range lower pre-market lows as well, catches the sellers once again. So VWAP showing us that, yeah, sellers are definitely very dominant on the day today. Lower high 94s, and then that 92 and change low break where that bid did step in for the second time on the day gets cracked, and then we're coming in a little bit lower here at 91s as well. So yeah, good look there on CoreWeave. If you had the short, that was that play is working out really nicely, and you've got market tailwind on your side to kind of help you along with that as well. Apple, I'm looking at this consolidation on top of VWAP. The VWAP long was nice, but again, a little for me, this move here was a little too far too fast, and I'm looking for a bit more than maybe just VWAP here, but I could very well be wrong, right? It is very strong on the day. If it steps in and VWAP buyers are kind of showing themselves right now, they are very much showing themselves. If they're going to stay dominant on the day, I do have to be wary. I do have to manage risk effectively, right? I think that's going to be important here. Again, another 5-minute bar opening up with a flat top with 4 minutes left. So again, when it opens up and it doesn't really break the opening price to the upside and it starts trading lower and it starts forming that lower wick, I just look at the chart and I'm like, all right, what's the probability that we, you know, like you don't really see candles like that often, especially, well, you can just take a look at the chart and be like, all right, well, is that kind of a behavior that we've seen? I don't know. Maybe it means nothing, but candle formation is definitely something I like to watch for sure. At the end of the day, it's just all information that's already been printed on the chart, right? So if that's the case, I'm really asking myself, is that really going to end up being a bit of a held offer on the opening of the 5-minute candle?
It's a little something, but right now, I think the story is the market's looking weak, but as weak as it looks, and I'll get to BBAI in a second, as weak as it looks, we still haven't had any real massive breakaway from the range. It looks weak to me. I think the shorts have had their day. so far, and it looks a little bit weak. Oh, that's what I did. Oh yeah, you guys got me in the chat. Yeah, I actually just posted a ticker without putting the dollar sign as well. So you guys should rightfully mock me for that, because I say every single day I'm calling people out for not doing it. So I expect you guys to roast me in the chat. If ever I do it, then just double down, triple down, and have fun with it. But the Nasdaq hasn't broken the low, kind of bad, hasn't broken this low yet. If this 15-minute candle does, there's a heck of a lot more that we could do than 1/3% to the downside. On the Nasdaq, BBAI is very close to getting to that support level. Straight to jail. I mean, that's a little extreme. That's a little
calm
extreme.
down now.
Yeah, come on now. Straight to jail. We're not putting a dollar sign ticker in there? Come on now, people.
You know what that's from, right? The meme?
Huh? Should I know that?
Okay,
I'm old, man.
Okay, I'll show you after.
Why is it not? If it's not appropriate.
No, it's not that it's not appropriate. It's just funny. I think I forget. I don't know the specific context as to who's talking or whatever, but it's like this military official.
Parks and Rec.
Is it a clip from Parks and Rec? Okay.
I never watched that show.
Yeah, see, me neither. But I am a little bit familiar with the meme world, so it is definitely something that is very, very popular for sure. He's listing like very simple things, and he's like, "Yep, straight to jail." Like, we send them straight to jail for doing just simple whatever things, right? So.
Well, there you go. Straight to jail if you don't put dollar sign in the chat, which everybody is. See, it works because everybody is doing it. And here comes. All right, this is what I'm watching. I was trying to spit this out on BBAI that it got to the support area, which was 620 for me. I can show you the 15-minute where essentially just pulling back into this high. So like last week's resistance at 6.25. So this is the first spot where I'm looking for a trend break or some kind of a long back into VWAP. As the market's looking pretty weak, okay, fine. It was probably the wrong decision. Thinking that I could get out of SMCI and back into VWAP, that has not happened, but I got to move on to the next trade. SMCI continues to fall, but now I'm looking for BBAI trend break, not an all-day trend break, but just like a trend break into that support level at 625. If I get the break here, I go long into VWAP with my stop at the prior bar low. And speaking of, this is a small cap, let's go to Adara for the small cap recap.
Pretty funny, Neil, because BigBear is actually the first name on the small cap recap. It is going to be a lot of these earnings names, with one exception, because I do want to go over some of these earnings names and these retail favorites, one of whom is BigBear AI. Losses of 3 cents per share, better than the expected loss of 7 cents. Sales 33.143 million, beating estimates, but actually down 20% year over year. But the other thing with BBAI is their guidance maintained more or less in line with estimates. Overall, this was kind of the right down the middle report. Let's talk about MSP recovery. No news on MSPR, but I do want to mention this name is apparently in the same sector as like the UNH, the Oscar Health, the Humanas of the world. So it's in the health insurance space, which got hit pretty hard yesterday. So this could just be a recovery rally for MSPR with a $1 million market cap and a 25% short float. Last but not least, I have to talk about Open Door, which has an interesting catalyst today. OPEN CEO Kaz Nejadian just posted yesterday on X that today is the first day he's actually allowed to buy Open Door shares since he began as CEO, and he and his family are purchasing $1 million worth of Open shares, I think fittingly enough, at the open. So as of the open, Kaz Nejadian and his family apparently purchased $1 million worth of shares. So nice CEO purchase here for OPEN. Now, before we send you back to Neil and Obi, we'll take a moment to thank our good friends at Trade the Pool, because for too long, trading meant risking your own money, or just never having enough to start. The fear of losing. That's what kept so many traders on the sidelines. But guys, that is changing because Trade the Pool is transforming how traders access the markets. With its limited risk trading model, traders use funded capital, while Trade the Pool absorbs the downside. This allows traders to focus on what truly matters: discipline, consistency, and growth. Because when you hit that profit target, you keep 70% of the profits. No fear, no barriers, just real opportunity. That's the revolution of limited risk trading, powered by Trade the Pool. Visit tradethepool.com now or scan the QR code to get 10% off your first evaluation. Back to you.
Thank you very much. See, you're okay. I thought you were in a position. I saw you rubbing your hands. I was like, oh.
No, I did just get in position, but I'm rubbing my hands because it's cold.
Okay, right. I was just like,
I do that a lot.
It's a bit chilly in here as well. But yeah, man, this is the next red 15-minute candle here on the market. Aggressive sell on that previous one. Let's see if we get that continuation coming in here on this one as of right now. When I'm looking here at the Mag 7s here, Nvidia is still continuing to bleed. Tesla's a little bit to the downside here as well. Apple's pulled back a little bit from its highs as of right now. Microsoft's pulling back, could not really get past pre-market highs. And there it is, Google wicks prior day's highs and then taking a little bit of a breather for about, I guess so far it looks like about a 30% pullback off of its highs from the opening range lows on Google. And Amazon just not really getting anywhere there. It attempted to break pre-market highs or consolidation highs from, no, those are pre-market highs, sorry. Yeah, and then pulling right back in as well. So relatively weak across the board when it comes to, with respect to the bid, but that could very well change, right? That could very well change. Just got to be wary of that. But bids are definitely coming in other places of the market. Rivian still continuing. We saw Randy just now coming in with that Rivian call. Great prices, great swing on that one. Nice little cumulative chart on the higher time frames there and pushing a little bit higher on the day today once again. So stuff to watch out for. There are a lot of opportunities here in this market. So let me know what you guys are trading. Out of the names that I was watching off of the open, we talked about that. Okay, well, you know, there's a big miss on my part, Neil. I talked about that SOXL. And that SOXL is coming in, that 43.40 all the way down to pretty much a gap fill into 42s.
Believe me,
from the prior day. So that's a bit of a mistrade on my part, getting too busy with this core weave and this Apple here as of right now. But
that was somewhat similar to Micron. But oh, did I get the right one? Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Tola, for the super chat. Appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat there. Can you please take a look at Baba and Lemonade? Thank you for all you do. I love the show. We love you as well. I want to quickly update. I got into position, so there is the trend break. There is the break of the prior bar. My stop is underneath the prior bar low. I don't know why that was so hard to say. But Alibaba yesterday was not the best. Look, I like Alibaba. Candidly, look, I have a long-term position in Alibaba, so I'll get that out of the way. But unfortunately, yesterday was a pretty nasty day. As you can see, about 170, high 60s to the 170s has been a bit of a seller. It's been caught in a range the last couple of weeks that you have to be a little bit wary of, at least I think. Oh, Intel's breaking view up and getting it. But Alibaba, just to finish the thought, it's been hugging the 50-period moving average, and it's a chop fest inside. So bullish in a sense that it's consolidating over support, but this can break in either direction when you're kind of barcoding the 50 period on the daily. This breaks down. There's a lot of room below. 145 to 150 is a key level before you get to the 200 period. But I think it needs to make up its mind. I'd be more interested, and I think sometimes buying higher is better. Like if it breaks this little downward channel to the upside, that could be a more bullish setup for Alibaba. Otherwise, just wait for it. If it resolves lower, you can get it at a better price. If it breaks out higher, you get it on more strength for Alibaba. And Lemonade, this is a big short float name, very tricky space in insurance. I owned this during COVID at one point, but this has been a squeeze play recently. So it's a great reversal sort of consolidation, but I think it's just a squeeze up here. So yeah, it could be breaking out above 80. Like I said, treat it as a squeeze in the trade. I think it's getting way too frothy. And I'll never forget, again, so my wife, she's in consulting, but she worked in insurance before at a big firm. And her boss, I remember having a conversation where I wanted to buy this one on a dip. And I ended up getting talked out of it because of some fundamental challenges I thought they would have. Obviously, it was a good dip buy if you took it. I just think it's getting very, very frothy up here for Lemonade. So yeah, treat it more like a trade in my opinion.
Yeah, Apple's back at highs, by the way. So I'm just like, okay, well, that VWAP held pretty well. I got out on that the consolidation high break. That was a great reason to buy, I think. Even VWAP might have been a great reason to buy as well, because I already started doing that much earlier on the short. But that comes in. I was looking for the continuation. It's all good. Not there. I'm definitely wrong on that. 274.37s are day highs here on Apple, the most relatively strong stock when it comes to the Mag 7 on the day today. And CoreWeave continues to sell off, man. This is a 1-minute chart. So yeah, it gave maybe some chances here, maybe here as well, but I don't really feel comfortable kind of chasing into the short here anymore on CoreWeave. Maybe I just be patient for a potential reversion that might come in later on in the day. Apple, what are you doing, Apple? 274s now. So yeah, that buying came in pretty aggressively from 50s all the way to 74s. And then it's pulling some sort of a chop fest here once again near the highs of the day. So you know what, I might just be a little bit more patient on that one. Seems like the short was short to VWAP, and then VWAP buyer stepped right back in on the name that's the most aggressive today. So I do have to be a little bit wary of that and be nimble as well, especially with the ES coming back in here as well, and the Nasdaq potentially catching a little bit of a bounce here. You can see that represented by the bottom wicks on the 15-minute candles here on the day. Let's take a quick look at some of these chip names here, because again, that SOXL was a bit of a miss on my part, but SMH catching a little bit of a bid, day low at 351.16. 240. So AMD actually got down. Wow, there's that Apple breakout of the day highs. That's coming in now. So I'm going to stay watching this. This was a bit of an area of supply, and that's why I initially got involved in and around here. But if we're going to kind of break through that, pull back in, hold that resistance as support, plus VWAP, and then continue a little bit higher into an area that might be 275s, I got to respect that, right? I'm like, okay, that's fine. The market, you call it MGI, market generated information. The MGI is showing me pretty much what it wants to do. Who's in charge? No. This is a term. Okay. A term. Yeah, market generated information. It's just an easier way to say, you know, price action, tape, whatever, right? All the raw data that you're able to consciously and subconsciously pick up on is the MGI there. But yeah, no, it's 275s potentially coming in. There's some sellers once again. So I do want to respect that. It's showing me that it's strong. It's showing me that VWAP is strong, even though it is distinctly different from the market, right? So when and if that selling does come in, I do want to stay involved. But at the end of the day, right now, ARM, when I'm looking at the chip sector here, ARM is selling off, SMCI is selling off, Intel kind of holding, AMD is selling off below that 240 mark, Nvidia as well, TSM and Micron.
CoreWeave tanking still.
Same story, yeah. CoreWeave breaking 90 now on CoreWeave. So yeah.
That was the next place I was going to go. Like BBAI is trying to go. Like here's the thing. Like Open might be setting up exactly the same as BBAI with a little bit more strength. Like there's trend down, trying to break trend above VWAP. Like one of these two, like Open Door has already worked a couple of times off the $8 level, whereas BBAI is a little bit weaker after earnings. I said I would wait out the first couple of 15-minute candles on BBAI, so I did, but it's not really pushing into VWAP the way I would like, whereas if Open can close above VWAP in here, right around that 810, I might jump back into that one instead. But alert to CoreWeave, now down almost 15%. This is a potential bottoming tail candle. And if you go from the open, I'm connecting the dots here from the open, not this like pre-market high before, but like this opening candle right away when it loses VWAP. You've also got a pretty distinct trend line here that can get broken. And if that happens on CoreWeave, I'm taking my shot for the VWAP reversion. It's now SSR. It's not a big level or anything on the daily till it gets maybe to 85, but it's close enough. I think it's starting to form a decent setup here for a reversal play on CoreWeave. So I just drew my trend line from the open. It's not from the high of the day, so that's what I'm eyeballing. We'll give more of a tight entry, I think, for the play into VWAP. And the thing with the risk here is if it ends up a 91 break, the risk is probably back in a 90.25 at a minimum. So you have to understand, like you're on a CoreWeave, try to capture this to VWAP, which is almost at 94. You're probably risking anywhere from 70 cents to $1 on this setup, and then looking for, you know, a move of about 3. So if I capture, like on average, half that, it's 2 to 1. We just got another super chat here from Eclectic Passions, I believe. Kudos for the show. SPY gap fill yesterday's gap up. Well, in order to look at that, I got to put up the SPY on a 15. Love the 15-minute chart. There's a long way to go Like to me, you've already filled in a portion here. Like there's your gap up, but like if this prior high here at 679, where we're currently holding, that's like the one step. It's like one step, two step. I always try to treat things as like multiple trades as a day trader because you get multiple shots at it. You don't have to sit there in one short thinking it's going to work all the way. But there is a second step that we haven't broken, which is still kind of bullish. Like I don't know if the SPY looks just like the Q, but the Qs. But on a daily chart, we've held a 50, reversal candle, strong bullish candle, and then we're consolidating a range. On a daily chart, this is like a bullish consolidation still until proven otherwise. I think that's your second step, which has yet to happen. If that does, it's like re-enter all the shorts that you liked. But I'm out of my shorts for now, kind of looking for a re-entry on that secondary push in on the SPY. Hope that helps. And thanks for the super chat again.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for the super chat. Yeah, that gap fill coming in, and we kind of talked about that gap fill on SoXL as well, maybe a little bit of NVIDIA as well. But yeah, good look on that one. That's definitely attempting to come in here, especially here on the Nasdaq. When it came to that gap up yesterday, I was really watching. Friday's action was very interesting, and then Monday a little bit of a doji action, kind of a flat range, a tight range there on SoXL, and we did break down below that range, and then coming into the day before's Mondays, was it Mondays? No. Friday's close, I think. Friday's closing areas as well. So interesting stuff there for sure. Apple still kind of chopping around this 274. We did kind of false break the highs there. Sellers did come in pretty aggressively after that bid all the way from VWAP. So I'm watching it. Got a little bit involved here. Nothing too crazy, but yeah, just watching it closely. Rivian continues to go, man. There's can't stop, won't stop. Just a grinding buyer there on Rivian, taking us even higher. And I looked at the chart. It's a weekly breakout. Not only is it a weekly breakout, Neil, it's a monthly breakout. It's a multi-month breakout.
It's a huge
you're
breakout.
Getting higher time frame participants.
It really is.
Right? You're getting higher time frame participants that are really getting involved in some of these moves here right now. So yeah. I'm waiting, man. I'm waiting. You guys know I like the reversion. I see a buyer. I see a very consistent and grinding buyer. I definitely want to start watching that.
Speaking of reversions, yes. Tesla clean trend into yesterday's low right now. I just put up CoreWeave, which is this clean trend to the downside as well. And yeah, BBAI is just not working. I think I opened the day thinking Open Door was better than BBAI, and I'm kind of leaning right back into that. So try BBAI, it bounced. Well, second it broke the prior bar low, I'm just going to jump out of it. That either gives me VWAP or it doesn't. Like I'm not trying to reload off the low of the day when it's trending down. And to the point that I was just making, I'm going to slide over to open. This is a little bit stronger, not much, but it's holding out that $8 level. It hasn't given me a reason to get back in yet. I feel like I let it make the higher lows and then got it as it was breaking that trend. So we could do something very similar there for Open Door. But this market is continuously trending lower. I'm reminded there's still a chance SanDisk has not broken this low yet. Strongest name in the memory space by like a long shot the last couple of days, but it's holding on to support. I feel like if this breaks down, it gets nasty, but it's going to be a bit spread. It's going to be a big spread on this name. So I feel like being short on a low break is not a good idea because you'll probably get slipped and then it breaks 57 and you're short at 56 at the low of the day and VWAP's like $6 higher. That's kind of insane. So I want to try to be in this name into the break, which is going to be a bit tricky getting into this. Like I'm basically going to observe this downtrend and try to slip into it on like an up wick if I can catch one on this downtrend. Because I don't want to be punching a 257 break after watching the spread on this stock.
Yeah, that's about to break day low. I think I was trying to trade it yesterday, man. The spread was absolutely crazy. Yeah, we also have to pay for shorts, which I figured out. Where yesterday I tried to take the reversion back through 260. Sorry, what's up?
What type of spread are we talking about here on SanDisk?
It was like $2. It was like $1.70 to $2 at times. Not right now, but yesterday off of the open, it was absolutely wild. So yeah, definitely one to watch out for. And that aggressive strength, not really coming in as aggressively today. So I'm watching it. Bit of a multi-day move. It is on an aggressive trend to the upside. So Bigger picture, the reversion I think is within within the horizon. So I'm just waiting and being patient for that one. Some selling potentially coming in here on Rivian as it pulls back. Where is a VWAP? I see that that's in and around $17 here on Rivian right now, man. So yeah, not much else I'm watching. Let me know in the chat what you guys are watching, what you guys are up to as well. Mike P. the writer saying, yeah, is it slow? Yeah, maybe kind of slow. Sometimes when your playbook setups are not really setting up, you just gotta just chill, kick back, wait for the next trade, wait for your setups to show up, and stay as nimble and light as possible when stuff that's not really your forte is happening, right? So I think that's important. I'm trying to learn that as well as possible as well. That's why I'm reiterating that out loud.
Tesla's trying to break trend.
Tesla's trying? All right. What do you got going on Tesla?
Well, a lot of things are trying to break trend. Open Door trying to get above VWAP. The trend down on Tesla's trying to break. CoreWeave is not seemingly breaking its trend, so I kind of have that one on the back burner, at least for now. You got to go to the ones that are working. So it's a couple of cents away on Open Door from a break of trend and a claim of VWAP, whereas Tesla very close to kind of closing it out here. How many minutes left? Yeah, this actually only halfway through this 3-minute candle. The thing about this, most of the bad trend breaks I have found are when you just try to get in. You try to anticipate that it's going to break the trend, and you're punching long as it's breaking the trend line during the candle. Well, how often does that work? Like most of the times, that's a really good short entry, as opposed to a long. Like it needs to close above the trend line and hold and then go for the reversion. So maybe not yet there on Tesla. It's a little bit different if you find some confluence, I find, or the stock is relatively strong, like in Open Door. Okay, Tesla's not happening right now. Open Door is. Whereas Open Door breaks this trend line here, bounces off $8, and I want it back above VWAP. So I don't have a great price on Open Door, but I do have a distinctly stronger name. I should have like 5s. They're really bad. 10s is crap. 5s is better. But the stop is underneath $8 in either way on this. So Open Door a little bit stronger. If you're looking for strength, sometimes when the market is weak, I find the longs just happen to be in a small capper or a squeeze type name. That's certainly the case with Open Door. I hope Tesla can break this trend, but look, if you entered without it actually closing above the trend line, then you've essentially right now you're getting burned. And I can patiently wait for a better setup. Let's go to the desk. Adara again.
We have to talk about the shutdown once again. Now, we do have some indication they're going to try to get everyone back into Washington by tonight for a vote tomorrow. We've kind of been expecting that Wednesday vote. Well, now we have House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffrey saying that he's going to absolutely oppose the stopgap bill if it does not include those Affordable Care Act or ACA subsidies. So it looks like, I mean, if they get enough people to approve, it's going to be kind of irrelevant. But either way, there are still some people who are opposed to this stopgap bill. We're going to have to wait and see what happens here with regards to the shutdown as we send you back to Neil and Obi.
As always, thank you, Adara. And looks like the long is open on this one, but the shorts have ruled today, Obi. There's no question about it. Yeah. You got to pick your spot. You have to pick your spots. If you're trying to go long anything right now, it's going to be a tricky game. You got to find relative strength. Make sure the name you're looking at is giving you a reason to get in and try to catch the bid. Darth Trader in the
Darth Vader. Darth Vader.
It is what it is.
I like it.
Do you have rules and guidelines for how you set your trend lines?
Yes.
Yes.
Of course.
So if at all possible, try to work with the bodies of candles instead of the wicks, if at all possible. In this particular case, with Tesla, it's really easy. And when you're drawing a trend line, you are trying to connect as many pieces as possible. Like it's to me, this is a bigger trend when this candle happens. Like maybe it's a trend here. It's yes, a trend when this candle where it tries to break and then wicks it, where you couldn't close above. That confirms the trend, and now you have a chance to break it on this fourth contact. On a 3-minute, I'd prefer to have 3 contacts on a trend line if I could, like 3 big ones, to confirm that trend. I think I just heard we're going back to Adara.
Let's talk about the sector board, because as much as we have a lot of this weakness, it's very obvious that this is tech driven, because we have Nvidia, Broadcom, AMD all sharply to the downside in electronic technology, even though names like Qualcomm and Apple attempt to offset this weakness. Then in tech services, I mean, Google and Meta are relatively flat. So was Netflix, but Palantir down 2.5%, Apple AAPL down a whopping 7.5%, Oracle down 4.5%, Meta down 1%. So a lot of these big tech names are weighing down the rest of their sector, even though, as you can see, not all of tech is that weak. We have producer manufacturing, though, which certainly is really weak. LRCX and AMAT down, suggesting that there is some weakness here, negative sentiment in the semiconductor space, as, of course, backed up by this electronic tech sector that we just looked at. In terms of the strength, though, there's actually quite a lot to be found. Health technology looking really good here. Eli Lilly, Merck to the upside. We've got consumer non-durables, Nike up a whopping 3% today. Energy minerals looking good. Consumer services looking good. Communications to the upside. T-Mobile not seeming to care that we had some stake sale there by SoftBank because they're still up 2.5%. So again, even though a lot of these tech and semiconductor related names seem really weak, the rest of the market is not too concerned. And I think that's certainly something to be reminded of here. I do want to talk about retail trade briefly. Amazon relatively flat, but I just saw a story here. Apparently they're expecting their ad tier to have a lot more members this year than they did last year. So looks like some success here for Amazon's ad tier stock, though, again, pretty flat today as we send you back to the Amazonian himself and Neil.
Yes, Amazon indeed. Amazon had some, I took some trades on Amazon yesterday. That 251 reversion was absolutely beautiful. Did I execute it beautifully? Not really. But, you know, it's a work in progress. I did have the 251 short there. So the entry was, I was pretty satisfied with my entry. The exit was a little bit lackluster there. But I initially, here's what got me into this yesterday. This was absolutely beautiful, man. This is kind of the ideal reversion for me, where it gives me almost a 200% reversion. It gives me double the length of the initial leg, where I try the long through 250 and I see that there's no follow through. I see the slam through 251.75s. I'm like, we can't even get through that last quarter, and I hit the 251s on the way back down. I covered in this consolidation in and around 250. This thing went to 245, Neil. Huge miss. And I'm not even holding to VWAP. Like, come on, at least hold down towards this VWAP area. Sure, I kind of did, but you know, definitely lots of improvement required. But that one was absolutely wild. Yesterday, strong, beautiful ranges on those legs on Amazon yesterday. Today, a little bit of lackluster, just kind of chopping in this $2 range, 249s and change, 247s and change. So a $2 chop on Amazon, not as crazy as yesterday on Amazon, but good look there. There's VWAP again on Apple, so you know, getting a little bit chopped up there in this area, but re-engaging. I like that I re-engaged here in the same area after we false broke that day high, right? We attempted to push. That was aggressive strength. It was almost like people were wiping the book. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be patient. This is an area of supply. Let's take a look at the weekly chart once again. And this is what I was pointing out earlier this morning as well. And kind of Neil pointed out as well. So it's very straightforward on the chart on a higher time frame. Let's take a quick look here at the weekly. You can see Apple on the weekly. Actually, you know what? It's not on the weekly. It's on the daily here, but yeah, just looking at the hourly chart, that's what it was. So the hourly chart right here, you can see that 272, 273, a little bit of a supply zone, a little bit of a supply zone. We are testing it as of right now. So the question becomes, how far do we pull back if this supply is still there? If this supply is now gone, and the market catches a little bit of a bounce as well, what's the potential on Apple? We saw this crazy shake and bake off of its earnings, where we hit a range high of 284.70s. We hit a range low of 261.55s. And then we've just been kind of chopping and consolidating inside of that range. So it's a bit of an interesting action. We can go even bigger picture now and be like, all right, where is that with respect to where we've been coming in? These are all-time highs for Apple. This is one of those stocks that only go up. Right? It's one of the leaders of the market, rightfully so, and it's showing strength. It's consolidating in that upper section of that price action after earnings. So I think bigger picture, it looks pretty solid. We were asking, why is Apple kind of relatively weak all the way down here at 200 just a few months ago? Right? It's finally caught up. So yeah, relative strength, I think it's well within range on something like an Apple. But when it comes to intraday action, man, there is such thing as, you know, a rubber band move. Some things, yes, a little too far too fast. it could take a breather, right? And VWAP is where buyers are.
Speaking of too far, too fast.
Yes.
That SanDisk, I mean, you got to be kidding me. Like this one, it was trying to break the low. And I was just talking about trend breaks, looking for this stock to break down instead of thinking about the trend break long. And it was the buyers, the dip buyers in this stock are built differently. This is one of the only things that did not break the low of the day in the space. And with that move into 68, if it can get through 70, there's going to be people offsides again. Because that, like in a day where the market's been weak, if the market catches a bid and this gets to 270, you've got to forget about it. Like that's just too ridiculous. It's the only one that hasn't broken down. I can tell you, at least for now, I'm still thinking it could break the low and try the short, but I'm glad I paid for the locates and didn't use them there because I wasn't willing to punch in at the low of the day. I think that can be a bit of a dangerous game. There was a question, Gus, I'll get to your question about P-Sky in a quick little second. Look, we've only gone into 8.25 a couple times here on open, but I'm looking for this to hold VWAP again in the $8 area and try to build into this to get to the 850. So far, it's been much better than BBAI in terms of looking for some longs. And for Paramount Sky, you think this is a swing long? My general take is if I wasn't already in this, I wouldn't be trying to swing it because I think yesterday is the day that I would buy this. Like, there's your trend break yesterday. So it's either in somewhere in the second half of the day or even at the close. I think you'd be chasing it to buy it at and underneath the 50 period. You're only giving up 5%, but I think that 5% matters in this particular case. Like I see that set up and I'd be only ever looking to enter either at the end of the first day or like anywhere you can. And that was actually an aftermarket move. So I'm not even sure this wasn't capturable unless you got the open print today. It's just, I don't know how you can chase that one up there already at the 50 period. So for me, it wouldn't necessarily be one unless I had a much bigger time frame on it. Because then I'd want it breaking the 50 period, giving it all the way to the low, then suddenly you're risking 15%. And if you're risking 15%, I'd have to have more lofty expectations. And so I don't really have a good reason to be in it. But it looks like it's breaking out. It's a good look. It just looks like it's breaking out, just a little bit late for me.
Yeah, I like that. That's a pretty clean reversion off of 15 as well, right? It's a little bit of an interesting level here. There's some size, about a few thousand lots on Apple here, 273 flat. So I'm watching that. We talked about buyers potentially being at VWAP. Hello, there's a buyer at VWAP, exactly confluencing where VWAP is right now. So let's see if Buddy gets taken out. Let me throw up the filter for you guys so you guys can see alongside how price may potentially interact with this guy here. So 273s, he was showing up earlier. Let's see if he shows up once again here. It could very well just be the spoofy man, right? Throwing size up on the book, but no intentions to get filled. When the price comes closer, the man pulls away. So it could be the infamous spoofy man. I have no idea, but I'm waiting, I'm watching. 273s showed up with some size on that pullback in. Let's see what we can do with that size. Market still staying weak. 25,500 on the Nasdaq. What's to say we don't, revisit that beloved 25,000 clean once again? This
beloved.
Week. Yeah, a bit of a magnet. We have a bit of an attractiveness to it.
It is. Let's go to Adara. Time for Money Talks.
Another down day here, guys, for the U.S. dollar. This is now a 5-day losing streak, though. Again, we are coming off a significant winning streak, and we're still within this uptrend. Unfortunately, not too much economic data to discuss. Actually, no economic data to discuss, but I do want to do a little bit of housekeeping for you guys. Point one, we will have U.S. President Donald Trump begin to speak around 11 a.m. at a Veterans Day wreath laying here at the Arlington Cemetery in Virginia. I'll be covering that. He is scheduled to make comments. It's not always going to be market moving, but I think certainly worth noting every time that he's scheduled to speak. Now, another point here, no Fed speaker economic data other than, again, like a 10 p.m. speech from Fed's bar. But guys, we might actually be at a point soon where we start getting these economic data points again. Why? Because there are some indications, despite, waffling here and on and off comments from both parties, it seems like we might actually get some resolution here for the U.S. government shutdown. Looks like they're trying to get a vote tomorrow. Of course, if and when I get any updates, I'll keep you guys posted. But either way here, if we start getting that more economic data, this can give us more of a sense of what the Fed is thinking for that December 10th meeting. That's now less than a month away. And we've had a lot of Feds saying that they're not quite sure yet how they feel, and they're really looking forward to having some economic data. So let's see if the presence of said economic data impacts these rate cut odds. Back to Neil and Obi.
Very much.
And back to the low of the day, everybody. The Nasdaq just cracked. I'm going back into Intel on another loss of the volume weighted average price, but there's the Nasdaq. We just cracked almost a full percent down now, 25.5 on the NQ. The ES 68.32 or so, also at the low of the day and breaking lower. Look, it's looking like it's going to be one of those days where you're just not catching a bid. Remember Tesla was trying to break trend? There's kind of a fail. This was the candle where you're looking for an entry, and it's all red and all heading back in. You can blame a little bit of CoreWeave, but I would actually make the argument CoreWeave is trying to bottom out. It put in a higher low. I didn't chase that trend break, just too big of a move to the upside to try to chase that trend break, unfortunately. But down 14% for CoreWeave on some guidance concerns, not the best look in the world. The one name that's holding up, I know you mentioned this, we were talking about this earlier, this SNDK, still above the volume weighted average price. I'm holding out that this could still end up a breakdown. If the market continues to fall, if we get from 1% to 2%, and this breaks at 57, this is one I will participate in, but you've got to show the weakness first. It's too strong of a name. So re-entry into Intel is the only recent thing I've been in, but you were observing something on Apple just now.
Yeah, so there's about 1,600 lots. 1,600 lots. It's a decent chunk of change. Sitting on top of VWAP, 273 flats there. So you did show up once again. Here you'll see it kind of highlighted here. This is the number of lots. These are the prices. These are the gates at which those prices have been posted for that given size. And you can see size each size number here represents one lot. So that's one lot, two lots. You can see them moving around. So a lot of the time I'm not really paying attention to kind of what specifically the numbers are. I'm just being like, all right, we're ranging around 2, 3, 4, 5 lots. No one's really posting visual size. For anything bigger, then all of a sudden, Buddy shows up with 1,000 lots. That's obviously distinctly different, and something I do want to watch out for and see if there's any sort of opportunity, and even if it's like a scalp off of that. I know players will see that size and risk against it as well, just being like, all right, well, if that's the buyer, then or if there's a bid there, then we can kind of risk against it, and on the decrement of that bid, you want to try to punch out and try to manage as safely as possible as well, right? So I think a lot of different games can be played when size is shown exclusively on the book. That guess what? When that size is gone, the players kind of switch hands, right? Everybody who's getting long off of that level or that price or that size is now kind of selling. They've become sellers as well. Yeah. So that breakdown comes in really nicely as well. Sure, I might be a little bit anticipatory of that, but the thing is, sellers have been in charge near the highs here, but we are ranging on top of VWAP, so I got to be wary. That's the biggest thing. A little bit of a tricky game here, but. Consolidating above VWAP, I understand that the MGI is telling me right now that, yeah, buyers might be holding this down. And we're seeing that buyer show up at 273s as well. The market, though, still weak. This is the fourth red 15-minute candle here on the Nasdaq as we continue to bleed a little bit lower here, now cracking that 25,500 Neil. So where's the next trade? I don't know, but that 273 seems very, very juicy to me on Apple. And here we go. Maybe there's Buddy right there. You can see him. Right there, 1659, sitting on the bid on Apple as the Nasdaq cracks a little bit lower here. So let's see if VWAP can finally give up the bid, and maybe we get a bit of a retracement. That prior structure low that's sitting here, let's get specific, at 272.50. So do we get, so that's 50 pennies away from that 273 buyer. So if that cracks, how fast do we get down to that level? Do buyers step back in? Now, those are all the questions I'm kind of going through in my head at the same time, but I do like that the market tailwind is finally on my side.
All right, we got about a couple minutes left here. Before we get to 11 o'clock, I'm going to do the what's for lunch. I don't have the key for what's for lunch, but I can tell you that what's in the menu for Tuesday has been swapped with Wednesday. I just saw a note that when I looked at it and read it, I'm like, oh, that's nice. but it's not. So I have to read Wednesday's lunch, which you can guess by the tone of my voice is not chicken, is not beef, is not tacos on a Tuesday. It is baked lemon garlic tilapia. Because why not? So Wednesday's lunch was supposed to be tilapia. Now we get that today with vegetable pilaf, roasted seasonal vegetables, chef's choice salad. Well, of course we're getting the tilapia today. Why wouldn't we? The market's down 1% and breaking lows. The ES is down a third. Tesla's breaking lows, Nvidia's at the lows, and we get to eat tilapia for lunch. I, for one, am incredibly excited, as you can tell by the tone in my voice, there, Obi, or the awesome tilapia goodness that we are going to get. So
yes, I don't mind fish too much, but yeah, it is what it is. Where I'm really trying to eat is in this market, Neil.
There you go.
That's what's for lunch. What's for lunch right now potentially is this bigger kind of a reversion. Yeah, the bid is for lunch for sure.
Lunch right now.
The bid is definitely for lunch here on the day today. So I'm looking for that 270, 250 to potentially come in. 76s, okay, all right. I was sitting there posted maybe for a little bit too much. It's coming in there on Apple. So that 273 buyer got taken out instantly, and then we started trading at 80s. So that's what I meant. It's just like, okay, when that buying pressure and people that are risking against that potential, obvious signal or whatever you want to call it in the market, when we kind of break that, yeah, you can get some action, some nice solid tape scalps as well here. Some size potentially following on the offer. Only 143 shares there. You see Buddy sitting right there, and he's on a Nasdaq book. So something interesting to kind of be aware of as well is like, okay, what gates are said participants using as well? We talked about this morning. There's certain gates that sure, brokers are coming. I think IBKR is pretty decent with that, but brokers are coming out with more market access as well. But you can understand that when someone posts size on a specific gate, it could be a specific kind of participant.
And we were talking about that earlier. It's just a little bit of a hint, and it can matter. So as everyone knows, I'm sure you are aware of this by now. Today, of course, is November 11th, right? So here in Canada, it's Remembrance Day. So Remembrance Day is where we wear poppies for Flanders Fields, a poem. You can look it up if you haven't heard it, to commemorate those who lost their lives in World War II. In the U.S., it's a holiday in the U.S., more of like the bond market and the banking holiday here. But it would then be Veterans Day, where you want to make sure that you're honoring those who have served at all, in any capacity. So regardless of which one of those two, whether you're here in Canada with us or whether you're in the US, or you could be in Europe where it's the 11th month and the 11th day and the 11th hour, we're going to observe a moment of silence like we always do. So I encourage everybody to participate. It's what we do here. I strongly suggest it's a good time for reflection, certainly. And so, what we're going to do is when 11 o'clock hits, we are going to have a moment of silence. We can come out of that and send you guys on to the midday. But we just ask that everybody observe that as well. So just so you have an idea of what's going to be happening in here. And again, it's one of those things. And just quickly, the last thing I will say is, if you know a veteran, now would be a good time to give them a call, or afterwards at some point today, just thank them for their service. I think it's an easy thing we can all do.